Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Howell Township budget meeting. Today is April, was it the 8th? 7th. I'm on April 8th, but it is April 7th. Welcome. It's approximately 5:15. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you all please remain standing in silent observation for our troops fighting all over this world to provide us the freedom which we enjoy, and also, if you could, keep in your thoughts today Mayor DeBell and his family, as Mayor DeBell, his mother, passed away yesterday.
Shall I read the opening statement?
If you could, Ms. Woman, I'd appreciate that.
Let the minutes reflect that adequate notice of the holding of this special meeting of the Howell Township Council was provided for in the following manner. By the posting of a copy of said notice upon the bulletin board in the Township Municipal Building on March 27, 2009. By the faxing of a copy of said notice to the Asbury Park Press and Tri-Town News for publication on March 27, 2009. By the filing of a copy of said form of notice in the Township Clerk's office on March 27, 2009. The public will be allowed to attend and will be allowed to participate pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law. The public is reminded that civility and decorum will be maintained during the meeting. Any contracts awarded at this meeting or between now and the next meeting will be required to comply with the requirements of Public Law 1975, Chapter 127. In accordance with the Fire Prevention Code, be advised that this facility is designed with 3 emergency exits for your safety. The locations are as follows. Upon exiting the meeting room to the rear, there to immediate left and immediate right, and at the front of the meeting room at the left of the dais. Furthermore, smoking is not permitted in the municipal building. Please take note that this meeting is being videotaped for possible future broadcast on Howell Television. Roll call.
Give me a roll call, please, Ms. Woman.
Mrs. Clark?
Here.
Mrs. Dalton?
Here.
Mr. Howell?
Here.
Mr. Memolo?
Here.
Mayor Walsh?
Here. So we're going to begin tonight where we ended?
Yes, Mayor. On J10, you were in discussion on the aid to the volunteer ambulance, and at the last budget meeting you had requested that a letter go out to those organizations requesting their financials, and then we would further discuss it tonight. So why don't you do that first?
Okay, I've had time to go through the financials. Has that everybody else looked through the financials?
Yes.
Okay, I've talked about this individually with members of the council. And Mr. DiMatteo, you in? Scott, would you like to come up? I'd like to ask you a question too, just to clarify some things for me. Mr. DiMatteo, I was looking at your financials. Welcome, sir. How you doing?
Good, how you doing?
A little tired, a little cranky?
Yeah, you know the feeling.
He picked Michigan State, Jeff. That's the problem. He lost the office pool.
No, I was all over North Carolina. I was looking at your financials. Did I read it correctly that you have $244,000 in reserve?
No.
Okay. What did I miss there? So I need you to help me.
The way we do our budget is any money that comes in this year gets put into a separate account for next year's budget. So the money that came in 2008 is budgeted for 2009. So any money that came in after January 1st in 2009, we don't touch that money or spend that money till 2010, because we don't receive the money from the township till sometime between July and September. So we can't count on that money in the beginning of the year. So the way we've been doing our budget for the last 15 years is anything that comes in a year prior is used for the following year's budget. Any fundraising, any, like the 2008 contribution from the township, I think we received it in August. That goes into an account and doesn't get used until 2009. And then I believe there's 40-something thousand that's in a CD. We're saving up to hopefully hook up to city sewer. And that's been in there for about 12 years now, because our septic is bad. And when we had the new building built, Monmouth County recommended either a new septic or hook it up to city sewer. So we had some money put away. Every year we try to add a little bit to the CD, and that's also in case of a furnace goes in the first aid building or something.
So the 204,000 is already, you say it's already accounted for other things?
That's accounted for the 2009 budget. So that's what we're using right now, because we won't receive whatever the township's given us until, I believe it's July or August.
You're right, whenever the budget passes.
Right.
Not usually, it wouldn't be until the summer.
And then we have to wait for tax
That's
money or
correct.
whatever. So we can never count on that money in January. So that money goes for the following year.
Okay, but I'm looking here, so I need to follow this a little bit. I'm looking here at the end of the year on the tax returns you gave me for 2008. Cash and non-interest bearing is 244,000 you had sitting in cash in December. I'm looking at it here on your tax returns.
I couldn't tell you. I mean, I'm not the treasurer, but I know 176,000 of that is budgeted for this year. 176,000 is budgeted for this year.
176,000 is budgeted for this year.
That's not including the payments on the building. We have a mortgage, and we make payments to the building, so that's not included on that.
Okay.
So you're saying your costs, other than excluding your mortgage, is
Excluding.
176 grand?
Yeah. With our insurance and medical supplies and everything that we pay for. Gas, electric,
Okay.
phone bill.
Yeah, I mean, you did show
Maintenance.
187,000 in cost in 2007.
Yeah.
You showed 149,000 in cost in 2008.
Yeah.
That's,
I mean, the gas bills each month are outrageous, the electric bills with the two
Yeah, because
buildings.
they're big open spaces,
Yeah.
they don't hold heat real well.
Yeah, so,
we all pay them.
yeah.
No, I was just trying to be clear because I went through your tax returns. I went through the tax returns from the other organizations and the financial statements.
Right.
And,
Yeah, we try to keep a year ahead because, like I said, our fund drive doesn't start coming in. We just did our mail out, so our mail out money just now coming in, so you're not gonna see a big portion of that till June, and then you won't see the township money until July or August. So all the money that's coming in now is gonna be used for 2010. This way, we never run into a bind. Years ago, before we started doing that, we ran into binds where we couldn't pay our bills because we were waiting for the township money, we were waiting for fund drive money, and we were working on a month to month. So about 15 years ago, we decided that anything that comes in that year goes for the following year.
okay, so you did have 244,000 sitting in the account.
I'm not the treasurer, but I mean, whatever's on that paper.
Okay.
I know there's CDs, like I said, one of them's for the city sewer, to hook up to the city sewer. Another one's for emergency reasons, if the heat goes in the building, if anything that would go that's not budgeted in our budget. We try to keep the line item budgets pretty much exact to what we need on a year-to-year thing. We see what we spent each year, and then the following year, we maybe increase it by 5 or 8% for normal increase. But there's not anything in there like when the heat goes, the furnaces, the hot water heaters, whatever. Any kind of major damage to the building. So that's what the CDs are for. And they, like I said, they've been there, if you go back 10 years, they've been there at least 10 years. And we add to them a little bit each year.
Does anybody else have any questions for Captain Manning?
I do. If you weren't to get any money from the town, could you continue to operate?
No.
Okay. Given your monthly, you said it's $176,000 approximately.
I believe it was 176.
And I'm sure your budget would increase a little bit each year, as you've indicated. Is there amount less than what we've been giving that you think you're...
We went over, and we can't anticipate how much money we're going to get in on a fund drive. We obviously think that this year we're going to get less money than what we took in last year. and everything was running pretty close, we submitted a letter to the council saying that we think we could afford a $5,000 cut, and we think we could afford to pay for the fuel in the 2 first responder vehicles. Anything more than that, I mean, we're really going to have to go out and try to work our hardest and try to raise more money. But this year, we think it's going to be an issue trying to raise the money on the way the economy is right now.
I agree with you. It's also an issue for us, though, too.
We understand
Howell
that.
Township. Anything that we give above what really can be afforded in this budget has to come from the surplus of Howell.
Right.
And we have to be very cognizant of the surplus for all the citizens of Howell Township. If any major expenses did come up, okay, you could come back before the council, and we could talk about it then. But we have to be very, very cognizant of people being furloughed, not wanting to have layoffs, and our own surplus, our own costs. We got less state aid again, less interest income.
Do you have a figure that you're looking at, or?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're about to discuss that.
Okay.
When we're done asking you questions.
All right.
Okay? I mean, I looked at the financials for all 3, okay? And I'll make a recommendation right now that we give each first aid $30,000 and cut $40,000 this year. All of yous have surplus, and anything we give you above that will have to come from the surplus of Howell Township. And our surplus is running low. This is the hand we're being dealt. So we have no choice but to deal with it, but that would be my recommendation, to revisit this again next year, and for this year to give $30,000 to each of the first aids. And I know it's going to be tough
yeah,
on
I
all
know.
of us. Well, Mr. Mario, now it's time for us to discuss it.
No, I understand it.
Okay, so that would be my recommendation. Anybody else from the council?
Just a few more questions, if I could. If you're, given your budget and given the way you've been working it year by year, given that amount, you certainly could operate. See, I'm concerned about certainly making sure that the public safety is taken care of. I don't want to sit up here and say, let's cut it, without knowing confidently that you can run your operation this year with that cut. And I guess my question to you is, given that amount, if that is something that the council discusses and agrees to tonight, is that something that you could at least operate?
This year, we can, because like I said, that the money from last year supported us for this year. But by March or April of next year, I mean, to pay our bills, it's going to be nearly impossible on just $30,000. I mean, depending on how much money we get in on a fund drive, which I don't think we're going to do good at. Like you all know, we stand at the corner of Route 9 and Lanes Mill Road just to get the amount of money that we need for our budget. And it's hard to get the members out just to do that, you know, on top of having all the calls they answer. And I just think that the council should look into the 3 first aid squads and how much each first aid squad does with the amount of supplies that each squad has to technically buy.
Captain, that will be discussed by us along the way. But we're looking at now, I mean, looking at financials, looking at reserves. I mean, from looking at reserves, truthfully, if we gave all the first aid zeros this year, they shouldn't miss a beat. It should all come from their reserves. Okay, but from discussing individually with a couple of council people, I don't know if that would be the right thing to do either. I mean, there are reserves there. And we're worried about the reserves for all of Howell Township.
Right.
There are many difficult cuts we're going to make tonight. And a lot of those cuts we're about to make, people don't have reserves to fall back on and say, well, I'll take it from my CD.
Like, out of that one CD, like I said, Monmouth County Health Department was at our building when our new building was built. And we had a real rough time getting the CO for the new building because we didn't have the money at that point to fully replace the septic. and we didn't want to sink money into replacing the septic when the new development was going in behind us. We thought we'd be able to hook up to their city sewer. That's not an option now because they ran the city sewer in off of Route 9. It didn't come close to the first aid building. It's over $40,000 to hook up to that city sewer, and we're going to have to do that this year. I mean, it's no doubt about it. Our septic is being pumped out every other month. We're going to have to do it. I mean, it's not an option. So, and that, a lot of that money in that CD, that's what we have the CDs for that reason. That's where that's going to go.
Well, with all due respect, I mean, personally, I would like to help you with that endeavor. I really would. And if you brought all your bank statements in, where you are financially at that time, I would strongly consider doing anything I possibly could to help you. But we also have to look at the dollars and cents today. And it's not a pretty picture. And you're a great first aid squad, and so are the others. And you do a terrific job. You really do. Your squad's to be commended for the service it does for the people of Howell Township. But at this moment, that's my recommendation. And that is from looking at tax returns and looking at money. Okay? Anybody else from the council?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, I have a question for the captain. Have you ever thought about, on your calls to try to recoup some of the expenses on the calls through the insurance, like the county does?
We can't, if we try to recoup some of our money, we become a non-volunteer organization, and we lose our volunteer status, and that's all our free training, that's our insurance, we would lose everything. We would lose our raffle license, and we would lose everything. So we can't, the minute we take insurance money, we lose it.
It's a great idea, it just can't be executed.
Yeah, it's a tough thing. But the amount of calls, I mean, last year was 2,100 calls. When you go on a first aid call, I mean, just a CPR call is costing the first aid squad over $180 to go on one call. And this month, believe it or not, we had 6 CPR calls this month, well, last month. So that's a lot of money, and you can't anticipate how much money you're going to spend each year in medical supplies. Last year I think it was $17,000 budgeted for medical supplies. I spent $24,000. So the equipment's not cheap. A set of defib pads are $80-something every time we use them. So, I mean, you can't anticipate it, and I'm just afraid that if the budget is cut that much by the beginning of next year, we're not going to have the money to buy the equipment, and we're going to go back to where we were back in the late 80s, where we were borrowing money on people's credit cards to pay bills and then waiting for the money to come in and having to pay the members back. And that's how it was back in the late 80s.
Well, we all hope that this recession ends and money becomes more available for a lot of things over time. But we also are faced with what we're faced with at this moment in this tough economic times. I agree with a lot of what you have to say, Captain, I really do. I agree with a lot of what you have to say. But at the end of the day, it also comes down to dollar and cents at this moment. So I would do anything I could to help you. Okay, but being stewards of the money for the whole town, there's many different difficult things we're going to have to do in this budget. And it is my opinion that you do have enough reserves to carry you through these tough times. I'll be glad to revisit it next year as far as I'm concerned, but it's up to the council, it's not up to me. I'm just one person.
Mr. Mayor, I have another question for the captain, Mr. Mayor. The first aid, has it gone over to the district commissioners over there in District 3? Have you approached them to help offset the EMS supplies and stuff? I know there should be some type of account there where they can soften the blow for you a little bit.
We just approached them, and they said that unfortunately there's no money this year at all, and they're not. Southern Fire Department District 3 commissioner said that there is no money to help us this year. We did approach them.
So you're saying that they don't have a line item for the EMS supplies for their daytime crew?
They have a line item, but they say they're using it for their first responders, I guess, during the day. There was actually a whole list of equipment that we were in need of now to get updated to the future, and I submitted a list to them, and they came back to us and said that there is no money.
Were you notified from the Board of Fire Commissioners over there that they were disbanding your line item for support?
The line item wasn't for us. The line item was for their paid. They told us for their paid personnel, for the EMS for their paid personnel.
Yeah, but don't you bring on? You get some type of support from them. There's some items that
They've been filling our oxygen bottles. That's it.
and there's
That's it.
no way that they can help you at all.
They said no. There was pulse ox meters that we needed, a couple pieces of equipment that we need on the trucks. Some of our defibs are 8, 9 years old. We want to replace some of the defibs. I submitted a whole list to them and asked them anything that they could help us with, and they said right now they can't.
Through the grants, did you look into the county where they can?
We applied for several county grants. We also applied for the Homeland Security grant, and this year we got turned down the Homeland Security grant.
In the past, has the Board of Fire Commissioners from District 3 helped you out in items like this?
Maybe about 10 or 12 years ago. Recently, it's just been filling the oxygen. The last 6 years now, 7 years, just been filling oxygen.
And you explain to me how their dispatching procedures are versus the first aid.
They're dispatched to EMS calls.
Correct.
They're self-dispatch. When they hear an EMS call in their territory, depending on if it's an ALS call or a BLS call, they'll roll a fire truck to it.
What does that mean, just?
ALS is advanced life support, where paramedics are required.
Okay.
BLS is just when it's first aid.
I want to tell you to educate the public, to really educate me.
Right. So they'll and motor vehicle accidents. They go out on all the motor vehicle accidents during the day in their territory.
All right, but they're not dispatched for the EMS calls.
No.
So when there's a call for your unit and it goes out on the road, they're self-dispatching?
Self-dispatching. So,
I would make a suggestion you revisit them.
right. You know, but I'd like the council to really maybe talk to the other two squads, see if there's anything they could do with, if their budgets are cut, and, because we are doing mutual aid to these other squads on a daily basis, on a nightly basis. We're answering their calls every time we go out of our territory into another department's territory. It's costing us money, and if we're all getting the same amount of money, I don't feel it's fair. I don't like going against other squads in the town. They do a great job. Our squad does have 86 members, and to buy the safety equipment and the pagers and radios, right now I'm in need of 15 radios. I got people that are on calls. I just bought pagers, used pagers, and I'm hoping when they come in that they work. Paid $150 for each one of them off eBay.
Jeff, you just said that, and I just was talking to Helene. What Farmingdale Howell did, instead of buying pagers and radios, because they cost a fortune, they cost
Right.
brand new.
Yeah, they're a lot of money.
They pay $600 a year to have them, all your calls dispatched as a text message to your phone.
How do you do
For
that?
the whole squad. You know what? I can give you the number that,
Right.
I get every page on here, and it costs $600 a year.
Give me that
For
number.
all of it, for every member to get paid for
Right.
every single call.
Really?
So instead of having radios and all of that, the safety equipment, you're talking about the yellow
Yellow
jacket.
jackets.
What Ramtown did, instead of spending $250 a jacket, they bought 5 vests, and they leave them in the vehicle, and when you go into the vehicle on a call, you grab one of the vests.
Yeah, we
That's
have-
for $28 a piece.
We have the vest also, but, there was jackets that people needed to keep warm, and I couldn't see spending $200 on a blue jacket when I was able to actually get those jackets for $80. I bought them at the flea market, actually, got them for $80. So we do shop around, but my whole point is, like I said, I don't like going against other squads, but Mr. Howell, you hear on the radio, we do a lot of mutual aid, and I don't think it's fair that all 3 squads are getting the same amount of money if one squad's answering 300 calls and another squad's answering 2,200 calls.
Do you know the breakdown? And what percentage do you think, if you're looking at all of the?
Well, you can look at the LoSAP that was submitted by each squad. And if you look at the LoSAP, our call totals, just the calls that were dispatched in our territory, just not any mutual aid calls, I believe it's posted right out there. I think it was 1,879 calls. Some of the other squads were 300. Those are dispatched calls. Now you gotta add the mutual aid. We had 400 and something mutual aid calls to Farmingdale and Ramtown throughout the year. So, you know, if a squad's only being dispatched for 300 and another squad's being dispatched for 1,800, how do you justify giving the same amount of money?
Your point's well taken, okay? At the end of the day, for me, at this moment, is that every squad has enough money in reserve to carry it through in surplus. I do not want to, at this moment, debate whether or not one squad deserves more than another. All squads are very necessary. All squads do a great job. Has to do with dollars and cents at the moment for me. And you can, with all due respect, you can dice it up any way you want to me. At the end of the day, there's enough money in surplus in your account to carry you. There's enough money in surplus to carry them. Right now, it's about money. It's about money. It's not about who does more calls. It's about money. And if you didn't have the money to carry it, if your bank statements, if your tax returns told me you did not have the money to carry you, I would not be for doing this even. Again, I'm only one vote. But I would not be for doing it equal across the board. But it has to do with enough money shown in bank accounts to carry each squad at this time. At a time that the town is in dire need, and we're short.
Right. Well, that's why, if you talk to the garage, we've been starting to do a lot of the maintenance on the township vehicles when the light bulbs are burning out. This is all stuff we started this year. We had an engineer's budget that we put in this year for equipment because we know with the furloughs, the township's not gonna be able to repair the vehicles as quick as we need them back. You come down there, I'll show you the bills for the bulbs we've been buying for township vehicles. You know, so we're trying a little bit hard to keep things going here. But, I mean, if we get cut like that, every light bulb, everything, I mean, township vehicles, all the repair, they're gonna have to start doing. We're not gonna be able to afford to even do any of that. You know, and there is a surplus in our budget, but you know, what if something goes bad? I mean, we have the garage door openers go bad. I mean, that's money that's not budgeted in our budget, and that's where it would come out of those CDs. And we've been putting that money in there for 15 years out of fundraising CDs in case something goes bad. I mean, if something goes bad on the building where we need a new furnace, we're gonna have to come here and beg for money and go without heat.
You're gonna have to beg for money. You're not gonna have to beg, okay? It's not about begging. You're a viable service. You do a tremendous job. It's about dollars and cents right at the moment, and I know you understand it.
No, I do understand.
You and I have spoken about it.
I understand it 100%.
Okay?
But
it's just about one thing at the moment.
There's 5 fire districts in the town, and one fire district gets $1 million, another fire district gets $500,000. You know, and
Please don't.
no, I'm not going into that.
Please,
But I'm just
okay.
saying
Please.
it goes by the services that they do,
Please,
the
sir.
amount of money they
Please.
get.
I would appreciate if you would take that to a fire commissioners meeting.
I'm just saying that the services they do. I'm not saying anything bad about a fire company. I'm saying one fire company might get more because they answer more calls, they have a bigger territory compared to another fire company that doesn't get as much because they answer less calls and have a smaller territory. And that's the way it's...
I don't know if that's really accurate, Jeff, because they all have different tax rates.
Right.
Squonkam has the highest tax rate.
They have the highest tax rate, but there's one fire company in town that gets $600,000, another one gets $1.3 million. You know, so, and it
They have
goes
all
by the
rateable.
territories.
I don't think that this is the place for this. Okay, please. Okay?
Mr. Mayor, Jeff, you know, you have a point there, you know. That's something maybe you should visit to each one of these districts, you know, to the commissioners and see if they can help you out somewhat because you do service those areas. And somewhere along the line, whether it's in, you know, PM for bulbs, fuel, you know, any type of EMS, they all have line items there. So, you know, I mean, it might be, you know, it might be a shot for you just to visit them, you know. I mean, you guys put a great package together on this, and, you know, it just shows a lot. It shows a lot of hard work for your whole unit. But, you know, I would really suggest visiting those districts again because, you know, for everything that you can get out of them. They have line items in their budgets for EMS supplies. They have line items for preventive maintenance, and, you know, they have a general account, so it's not up here for me to say where you should go, but it's as a suggestion. I would revisit those areas as a service to them. Maybe they can give you a hand and help you out.
Anybody else? Captain, thank you very much.
Thank you.
God bless you and your squad for all you do. Where would you like us to go next, Ms. Slagle?
You just want to move on, or you want to discuss it?
I've asked the council a few times. Anybody have anything to say? Anybody have anything they'd like to discuss at this moment?
Mr. Mayor, I would concur in your recommendation. I was on the fence as far as the number, considering where we really are financially, but given Mr. DiMattio's explanations, I would concur in the 30,000 recommendation.
Anybody else?
I have a more difficulty with a number. I mean, my only concern is, truthfully, I don't want to be in a situation where you are not able to do your job. And I know today, and I think I've heard that number, if we were to go down to 30,000, that you would be able to operate. I would like to see it slightly higher, and I know that's an unpopular thing to say at this point, but I think that there's things like Howell Day, which is also unpopular, to cut, that we could do. I just don't want to be in a situation where we have the most important thing is the public safety of this community. And if we are cutting it that much, I mean, I would like to see 40,000. Again, I know I'm the lone voice in this, but it's too important to the town. It's too important to our safety, and that's my position. I think it should be 40,000.
40,000 for all three, or 40,000 for one and 30,000 for the other two?
I would like to see it across the board. I think at this point, I know that we've heard about the numbers. I'm just not comfortable here tonight not knowing enough about the numbers to say, okay, let's give one more. I understand and I'm satisfied with the numbers that have been told to us tonight, that there's a substantial more calls. I just know, being somewhat in the business in the past of these calls, I think it's so important to the people that we make sure that they are funded. I also know that they've been responsible. I mean, they have money in the bank to make sure that they can pay for things. And it's a shame that we're kind of looking back and saying, well, because you have this money in the bank, we're penalizing you. But I think, unfortunately, we have to make this tough decision, and we have to cut. And I think even 40,000 is a substantial amount from what they were budgeted for, and they have to pay for a lot of things, and these are not just extras. So I would just say my position should be 40,000, which is a 30,000 cut from what it was previous years.
Mayor, for as long as I can remember, and Mr. Slagle, you've been here longer, and Mr. Filiaccio, obviously, longer, the funding's been equal across the board. When it was 35,000, it was everybody got 35,000. So I don't know that there's a need to change it. I mean, my initial recommendation was to cover everybody's insurance for this year, and that was it. And I believe the insurance numbers were like 21, 22,000. But if the council's comfortable with the 30, I'm okay with the 30. Some things may have to get cut back on. I spoke to the people at my squad. I said, somebody's got to explain to me what $3,000 for a phone bill is. Why do we need a $3,000 phone bill in the building? Everybody's got cell phones now. Call on your cell phone, get rid of the $3,000 on a cell phone. I think it needs to stay flat. Now, the one thing that Captain DiMattio stated is they have the money to go through this year, even if we didn't give them a penny. Mm-hmm. It would be next year that would pose a problem. You know, as far this, I'm kind of perplexed, I guess, a little bit by the sewer thing. I didn't realize it was going to cost you guys that much, and I don't even think in front of your place now is in the sewer service area. Right. So I don't even know if you can get there from there, from where you are.
We got a price. 5 years ago, I had a price of $32,000.
Yeah, but I don't know if you're allowed. You're not in the sewer service area. You can't get there. You're not allowed to go there, right? And you know that would be a question for the engineer. But so that's you're looking at that expense. It may be something that you can't even do. So if you're figuring it's going to be 40 grand, it's 40 grand. You may not even be able to spend, or you may have to spend it on putting a new septic system in. So that's just that's the one thing I would tell you is before you're figuring you're going to have to spend that money, make sure that you can even spend it. It's tough. I mean, we got people that we're putting out of work for 8 weeks. We have, we have to make cuts, but make them where the funds that we leave are still manageable. We just got whacked with losing another $250,000 in state aid.
That's correct.
So, there's your 210. They just took it away from us in the state again. Last year they took over $500,000. This year they take another $250,000. I'm comfortable with the 30. Like I said, my original was just pay their insurance. The liability insurance, which was anywhere from, I think one was 19 and the highest was 21 or 22. But if the council wants to stay with 30, I really don't have a problem with that.
Mr. Mayor, first, I want to thank the captain for coming out and approaching us. Is there anybody else from the other first aids here?
Councilman Howell.
Okay.
I just drive.
Oh, you do an excellent job.
Just drive.
But we worked the number back up from nothing and just covering insurance. So I think when this is revisited, I actually believe that the numbers should be different going to the township unit. Okay? The numbers have to be different. They do too much work in the town. They cover all the fire districts, and they're always out there on the road. They're hustling, and I believe next year when this is visited, that it should be cut proportionately different within the town to all the units, whether it's Ramtown, Farmingdale, or Howell. It has to be cut and regulated differently because, in my mind, I feel that we've come really, really far to giving them something where there could have been nothing. And in my heart, I feel next year that this has to be revisited, it has to be taken care of, and it has to be taken care of within the town. And it has to be regulated, whatever we're going to give them. And thanks for coming out.
Mayor, if I could just add one thing, maybe so that we do keep it on an equal footing. I believe Farmingdale Howell also gets money from Farmingdale Borough. I'm not sure how much it is. It might be $1 for all I know. But
I don't have that.
maybe we could reach out.
I've heard 10,000.
I heard it was down to 4 at one point, but whatever. Maybe we could fund the squads where the 2 squads that aren't getting stay at a number, and then we make up the difference to Farmingdale Howell from what Farmingdale Borough gives them, so that everybody's on an equal footing, that somebody's not getting more than the other.
I think that's an excellent idea, Mr. Howell. Mayor?
Jeff, I'm
fine
going to
with
be
that.
coming to drive for you because I ain't going to be allowed in that building no more.
All right. So we'll go with the 10,000 for now. So 30,000 to Farmingdale Howell First Aid, 40,000 to Ramtown First Aid, and 40,000 to Howell First Aid.
Oh, we went up to 40? I thought we were at 30.
If we raise it 10,000 to the other 2 to make it equal.
No, I was saying to reduce
He was saying 20, 30.
Farmingdale Howell.
He's trying
to bring it to, if they're getting 10, give them 20 from us and the 10 from Farmingdale. It's still 30.
I'm fair-headed. I'm fair-headed this time. I like yours better. I'm fair-headed this time, okay? So, listen, we gotta cut to the chase. Let's go.
I'm at 30.
Okay, let's vote.
I was at
So we make
21
a
an hour
motion.
ago.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I don't think we've agreed yet where we want to go with this, or what the
Somebody makes a
numbers.
motion, somebody seconds a motion, and we vote. That's how we agree up here.
We don't need a vote, consensus.
Right, because
Uh,
she's going to prepare a budget. I mean, the final budget isn't in front of us.
You'll be voting in the final budget. Yeah, we
I
just
know
need
she-
a consensus of 3 right now as far as items going in the budget.
Yeah, well, I guess she was just talking about a vote just for
Well, we may be
purposes
here.
of speeding things along, rather than,
Girl Scouts anytime today.
Mr. Mayor, I think, I'd like to see us give the Howell First Aid, we'll go to 40, and the Ramtown, and 30 to Farmingdale. I'll make that.
All right. So
Man,
you got
I
3.
can't agree with that.
Okay?
You know,
What do agree
I'm-
with, Sandra?
You got 3. 1, 2, 3. So you don't need to know what I think.
What do you think, Councilwoman, Deputy Mayor Dahl, what do you think?
I think that it is a very difficult time that we're in. I'm appreciative of everything that everyone does, but I agree with Councilman Howell. I think that if we're going to do cuts, we came in here with, you had a proposal of 30 across the board. Now we're taking another 10 away from Farmingdale. Out of 210, that would put us down at 80. So we would be realizing an additional 130 that we could apply to other areas. I thought that the whole idea was that we had looked at the surpluses that were available to all 3 of the squads, and if it's based on their ability to carry themselves forward for the following crunch year when we're in this economic crisis, you know, those numbers, they each have a surplus as we've looked at their finances, and those numbers are different.
Okay, final numbers. Councilwoman Clark,
I'm still with the 40.
40, 40, 30?
Mm-hmm.
30, 30, 20?
Well, it's going to depend on what we find out that 1421 is getting from Farmingdale Borough. If we find out it's
40,
5 and you
40.
just said 10, that you just
Right.
took it away. But I'm at 30. Everybody gets 30, and Farmingdale and Howell gets minus whatever Farmingdale Borough gives them from
Okay.
us. So if they're getting 10 grand from Farmingdale Borough, then they're only getting 20 from us. But we sat up here, you know, and we've talked. We're putting people out of work.
Listen,
You walk into a hospital, they give you sheets. You don't need to spend $80 on sheets. Find ways to cut. Find ways to cut.
Well, I think we're already cutting. I mean, we're
Not
cutting.
us.
Well, I'm
The
just,
recipients need to cut.
I know that, but we're certainly still cutting by the 40,000.
I think that if you hadn't said anything about Farmingdale being a recipient of money from their borough, we would have been satisfied at 30. So, I mean, this draws a conclusion here that, you know, whatever they're getting from us, and they're not even here. And I have
you know what?
issue with them not being here.
But-
If they're
but we
supposed to be
can't-
here, if you want something from the council, you must come here and approach them like the department heads and the other units in town. If you want something, you should come up here and speak for it. I mean, there are different things that you pointed out, Mr. Mayor, that you came from the Captain DiMatteo about where they're going to be going in the future and the issues that they have over there. But this whole thing went from 0 to 30, and when the information came out that the Borough of Farmingdale gives their unit more, they're getting substantially more than what we're giving them. So, you know what, I don't, you know.
Well, here's the
That's-
problem.
that
We don't
causes an
know.
issue.
I don't think
Whether
anybody
we
here
like it or
knows
not.
if Farmingdale is giving anybody anything. Farmingdale was pretty pissed off at us last year when we took the $7 grand away from their fire department. So we're sitting there making a decision now, bumping everybody else up, and we don't know if Farmingdale Borough is going to give anybody anything.
give us the correct number. Okay? Give us the correct number.
No problem.
30,000 across the board until then. Okay? When the correct number comes out, I personally won't debate it. Anybody else can debate it. When the correct number comes, I'll make my decision. 30 across the board.
Agreed, Mr. Mayor.
I agree.
Okay? Next.
Next, we need to discuss Howell Day.
Holiday. Had a little discussion with everybody individually. My recommendation is that we proceed with Holiday on a shortened basis from like 2 to 7 and have fireworks that night, not have the 4th of July. Whether or not that's acceptable, I do not know. I believe it's part of the soul of Howell Township, but I also have listened to that there, while we're laying people off, we should be having days where we spend $30,000-$40,000 on celebrations. So I agree with both schools of thought there. Anybody else from the council?
I agree with Mr. Mayor.
What do you agree with?
Shorten the holiday.
That's,
Michelle, what would you tell us the number is for Holiday?
Well, without the fireworks are going to add a substantial amount to Holiday. Because the fireworks,
Coffee, the public portion at the end of the meeting.
It's okay.
the fireworks themselves present a little bit different logistic problems also. Okay, that's why we really stopped doing fireworks at Holiday. But if we decide to do fireworks at Holiday, you're adding the cost of the fireworks, which is approximately $11,000, and then you're adding additional time for cleanup and road closings, because after you shoot fireworks off, okay, like the next day, there's a lot of issues with cleanup and fireworks. So that's why, but that's a call for the council to make. The budget for Holiday is I'm basing it on the 2008 numbers, obviously. The combinations from donations and vendors' charges was about 43,000.
That's how much it
Then-
cost?
No. That's what we brought in.
That's what we brought in.
Right. Now, the expenses that went out on that money left a balance of like $497. Out of the township budget, between overtime, which would count for the police department, the DPW department, as well as the seasonal workers and the bus drivers, is approximately $16,000.
So Holiday cost us $16,000, that's $17,000
Yes. Without the fireworks.
without fireworks. Did we try to get corporate sponsors for Holiday other than the boots? I'm just asking.
Oh, yes, that $43,000 is not the booths. It's sponsors. Most of it is.
So
and,
we-
go ahead.
So we'll have to assume,
That's
Okay.
number's gonna go down.
yeah, I mean, I'm involved in different fundraisers of different kinds. And now, one of them is anywhere near the number they were last year. So we have to assume that goes down. So you're talking of a cost, we'd have to anticipate $30,000 coming out of the budget for Holiday.
Well, not necessarily. I mean, what we could do, to your thought, Mr. Mayor, is that we could scale it back a little bit. So, for example, I'm just looking at, some of the expenses where you may not have radio stations, that's, 2 radio stations or something, you may cut back on those costs. You may cut, there may be some items that you cut back. Right now, all the rides are free. We've been doing that probably, I would say, for about the last 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I think 4.
Right, that we pay for the rides, which costs approximately $10,000, but we don't get any money back, because when times were good, we were getting, our donations were way up, and we passed that along to the residents.
All right, so if we eliminated the rides that are usually out on the lower soccer fields, that would about be a wash with the fireworks, correct? You said 10 grand and 11 grand for the fireworks, so that would be a wash?
Right.
a little bit more because cleanup of the fireworks is different.
Right.
A little bit more cost.
Right.
But what I had said to the mayor was maybe instead of starting Howell Day at 10 o'clock, you started at 2. Howell Day now usually runs from, 10 in the morning till 8 at night?
Right.
So now instead, started at 2. In October, it gets darker earlier, you could do the fireworks at 7:30, and everybody could still be out of there by 9. Now it's 7 hours instead of 10 hours, so the overtime cost would be less. You may have to spend some on the cleanup, obviously, but, we just eliminated 3 hours of overtime and a whole day's worth of overtime because now we would be combining the 4th of July stuff with Howell Day. So, owing to the fact that the the Howell Day overtime for the DPW and the seasonal and the PD was about 12 grand, right? 13 grand?
Yes. That's
We would
correct.
be eliminating that one whole day, because those numbers are already in the budget.
Right, but now you're going, just so you understand, with the fireworks, you're going longer also.
Well, if we started later in the day, if we started at 2
Right.
instead of 10, we're not gonna
Right.
go later in the day, because in
So
October,
you're
it's
saying
dark
you
at
want
7.
fireworks instead of rides?
I didn't say that.
I just
No,
asked,
I'm
We had to
asking.
choose between fireworks and rides. I would offer that the rides are probably better used and more in keeping with Howell Day. But as far as, I don't know if we could go back to charging, not that I want to do that. It could only be something very minimal, I would think, like a wristband fee or something. I can't imagine that we could charge people more than $5 a kid, or it's just not going to be worth it.
Why don't we take a look at some of these expenses that have been normally expended for Howell Day and ask Mr. Foco if he can cut this back a little bit, knowing that the council's direction is that they would like to incorporate fireworks into a shortened Howell Day.
Or
And,
remove it.
or,
No,
okay.
look at it both ways.
Or remove it,
Look at it both ways.
We'll get rid of 4th of July, let's see if we can do a toned down Howell Day and still have it.
Right.
Everybody from the council okay with that? And it doesn't mean we're gonna do it.
But not looking at, so no fireworks on Howell Day?
We need to look at it both ways.
Okay.
Why don't I put those numbers together and I'll send that out in an email.
I think even fireworks companies are having in a recession too. What cost $11,000 last year, I think you can get for cheaper this year.
Especially in October.
That's
You know,
probably-
I would think 4th of July, you're paying a premium. Not too many firework guys out there except for blue clothes, in October.
Anybody else for the council?
I just, my point about Howell Day is I know this is a very important event for the town, and I've gone to it for many years. I've enjoyed it very much. And my concern just is when we are furloughing people, if it's $30,000, in my book, that's just amount I'm not comfortable with. So I would be in favor of not having Howell Day. Tell the citizens we're very sorry. It's a difficult time, and I would hope that people would understand given what's going on. So that's my position on Howell Day.
Is there a way we could look at, Mrs. Schlegel, increasing the vendor fees even slightly? Because if we're covering everything but the labor for our departments, if we could generate enough money to cover, some more of that, then I think maybe that would be something that might persuade Mrs. Clark.
I think
To
we
look at it
could
differently.
look at that. We would have to look at, as the mayor mentioned, that donations would most likely be down. So we'd have to kind of make that up. But I do believe that if you scaled it back and didn't start, to Councilman Howe's point regarding maybe starting at whatever, and I believe the mayor said like about 2 o'clock or what, then that would save some money. Just have what we'll do is we'll look at it over again.
And we all agree on eliminating July 4th.
Yes.
We all agree with that.
Okay.
Yes.
So we'll
questions?
cut that accordingly.
Next,
All right, Mayor, I think at this point, we can start with the capital budget.
it should be pretty easy.
Just so you know that this was not all the capital requested. There was a lot already taken,
You
already
beat 'em up a
been
little bit?
removed.
You already beat them up a little bit, Mrs.
But that is, don't mistake that this is my recommendations that's here, but we've taken out some of the things already that were like not even in the game.
Who's here representing land use? We'll start with land use. Anybody?
No, I don't think they had previous commitments.
All right, so vehicles, we need one for land use. Ms. Schlegel? Is it
No.
Not a necessity. I have one major question with everything that's asked for from everybody. If Howell Township could run in 2009 without this, I would like you to tell me that. If it's a necessity for the township to run in 2009, I would like you to tell me that. Recreation, do we need a $20,000 vehicle for recreation?
No.
I'm good with that. Construction code, do we need a $25,000 vehicle?
Let's see. No.
Okay.
Engineering, Mr. Nunziata, would you come up here and speak for yourself, sir?
You don't need it.
No, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Senior Center, do we need a car for the senior center?
No.
No, they want all those cars. First aid vehicle. Ramtown First Aid, do they need an ambulance in 2009, or do they have a few?
This is part of your replacement plan.
I want to know where we're at.
We
How
have
many vehicles they
traditionally been replacing vehicles on a 4-year cycle between the 3 first aid squads and the township's EMS services. If we break that cycle, you run the risk of having 8-year-old ambulances out there before we get around to them again. That's
Mayor,
my
I
only
think,
comment.
I'm sorry, I think at this point that we need, in this climate, we really need to get a report of their year's mileage and what they have.
Absolutely.
Okay.
I
So
want years,
we will take
mileage,
care of
how
that.
many vehicles, because that does come into play. I mean, some of what Captain DiMatteo said is absolutely valid. If there's a vehicle running with 70,000 miles on it, and we're replacing one that has 38,000 miles on it, what are we doing here? We would all like to go with traditions. I'm a traditional kind of guy. But I don't think we can do things based on past practice anymore in the United States of America. Many things have to change. So I'm not going to judge so much myself from the past as much as from the present and from the future. I need more information before I
We'll get,
for that,
we'll get that for you, Mayor.
okay?
Do me a favor, could you add to that? I believe someone told me, and I can't honestly recall who it was, that Ramtown actually went out and purchased their own new ambulance last year. So they have one that's a year old. They purchased it on their own with a collection of the funds that we've been giving them over time.
Well, that was awful nice of them.
Well, and you know what? It was the money that they got from the residents, and they used it to
Yeah.
purchase an ambulance. So that's fine with me. I have no issue with that. So, you know what? Maybe we have to just
Skip them?
dispense with that expense this year, if that's the case. You know, and I don't know for sure.
We'll get a report from Ramtown, and we'll get that to you
Yeah.
as soon as possible.
I would like a report on all the ambulances. I want to know how many ambulances are in each first aid, what years they are, how many miles there are. Okay?
I
Ms.
thi-
Slagle, if you would, please.
Yes, I think, yes, and I think Mr. Snyder from our DPW is here too, and we can get that to you. We did provide that, though, to the council.
Okay, but I would like to see it in relation to this. I probably looked at it before, but it wasn't given to me in order to judge the decision I have to make right now. Okay, Ms. Slagle?
Yes, sir.
So we're okay with that. Computer equipment. We need computers for the senior center.
Just so you know what this is computers to provide computer, internet, and office training to the senior citizens. I'm just letting you know.
All right, Mayor, you and I attended the Meet the Candidates night last night and heard Mr. Wasser speak.
Yes.
If his budget passes, what they do is they take the computers out of the schools and replace them with new ones, and then they donate the old ones to senior centers, the monitors and the computers.
And I already asked Jim Wasser if he would consider giving some of them to the seniors in Howell Township, both at the senior center at Surrey Downs and at the villages, okay? And he said he would strongly consider it, to talk to him on April 22nd, because the vote's April 21st, okay? So we hope he finished with this before then,
Okay.
so let's question it for now.
Right, we may just need the licenses for the Microsoft then.
That's all. So we'll put the monitors and the computers to the side. Anybody, anything different for that?
Nope.
Okay. Tax collector, new collection program, didn't we?
Not the collector.
That was assessor.
That was
Assessor,
assessor.
that we did a,
Yeah, this one I do recommend we leave in. The current program that the collector has some support problems. The author of that program has died. And the support is, the company that supports it is highly limited. If we have any major change in laws, we're going to have some problems with this program. The writings on the wall, really, we have 23,000 accounts receivables that need to be taken care of, and we cannot risk, this program with limited support now.
anybody?
I don't know, maybe I'm just a little naive, but how would a change in the law affect the you mean?
If you have a change in tax collection law, the program has to be the computer program needs to be rewritten or modified. And that would be a problem without the original author of that program. And the program is basically dead. Everybody's going to have to replace, everybody that uses this MuSoft program will have to be replacing it now.
It's 4 days a year that the bills are due. I mean, I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing how complicated it is.
No, there's 261 days that money comes in. Every working day, we have money come in. There are 23,000 line items that need to get paid 4 times. You have tax title sale. You have tax title liens that need to be taken care of. You're going to have local improvements that need to be accounted for. You have when you look at it, about 100,000 accounts. If you look at an individual transactions that need to be accounted for, balanced, and the money get in the bank. And it is one program that really. You're running $141 million through that office, and you really need a computer program that you can trust and count on.
It actually sounds good to me, Mr. Filiaccio.
I agree.
Just,
I think any of you have dealt with me anytime know I'm really not a big fan of spending money on anything. I've been accused of treating the town money like it was my own. But in this case, I do think that in the long run, this will be well-spent money. Certainly, we have to go through the whole RFP and search process, but we need the money to be provided there. We need to replace this program before we're doing it on an emergency basis.
And certainly tax collector is an important area.
It most certainly is.
Okay.
all right, consensus from the council, okay with this? Put it out to RP and see what it is?
Yes.
And Mr. Filiaccio says we need it, I gotta believe him.
Mr. Filiaccio gets the first yes. Conversion of assessment records for the tax assessor. I need to know what's going on here.
I believe this has been done. They've already authorized this.
Yeah, this was already authorized.
Oh, is that what we authorized last year?
Yes.
You actually authorized it
Earlier this-
late last year, earlier this
right.
year.
Something we discussed like in
Yes.
November of
Yes.
last year?
Yes,
Okay.
I'm okay, yeah, that's what I was wondering. Didn't we already do this?
yes.
Okay.
So do we take that number out? or we-
No,
Now,
Yes, you can
It
take
does,
that out
or
because that's already been authorized.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
good.
All right, so we're down
I
to
like that.
35 grand there.
it's been authorized, but we haven't paid for it yet. That's an account semantics, folks.
Encumbered.
Okay?
You've already agreed to it.
Police equipment.
I think Captain Scott is here to respond to any questions.
Captain, come on up, would you please? Where's the chief?
Aruba.
I
think he planned it that way.
Sideways trees.
No, I don't think he knew when he booked it. I like to believe that.
No.
And sir,
Certainly.
may I tell everybody at home the town's in capable hands and yours while he's gone,
Well, thank you, sir.
okay? Early warning radiation.
Radiation.
Yeah, radiation detectors. I said it right the first time.
You did, you were good.
These were items that were requested as a result of 9/11, obviously, and the idea behind that, or the rationale behind it, is due to our close proximity to Lakewood, where the Jewish population is considered to be a threat area in case of some type of a terrorist activity in our area. And these radiation detectors will be used to detect any type of, obviously, radiation, just in case of a dirty bomb type of thing. If it were to be detonated there in that area to, kind of give warning to the police officers and first responders.
Do we have other stuff in place now, sir?
There may be something in
County.
regards to OEM. I mean, this is
Yeah.
something I know has been in the budget a number of years. And
So if there was an issue with the town, OEM and Homeland Security, the prosecutor's office has Homeland Security, OEM has, do they have the capability of,
I would say
Dealing
so.
with that?
And then to be right up front with you, if you were to say
Okay.
that we need it this year, I would probably say no.
okay, so it would be something that
I
maybe
think
next
it's
year?
probably other areas we could probably get the
Captain, you
equipment
had
from.
me at hello. Put a no.
Thank
The
you.
chief's not going to hear about this, is he?
No. So you fought very hard for it.
Somebody emailed the tape.
I have his email, so he emailed me, so you can let him know.
Mr. Mayor, I have a question for the captain.
He already said no.
I know, but I just
You already
want to, I got a
closed the
question
sale,
for him. He can still say no.
He already said no, Council. God, you can ask him.
Has anybody been in touch with the county OEM director in Freehold about,
That's where we put it.
providing
There's
equipment for
We were
you?
looking for equipment that we'd have at our disposal right away. There's other equipment that's out there would be available.
Yeah, but
to
didn't they
us.
get a big grant? They were
That's very
getting, they were doing
possible.
some,
I couldn't verify that, sir.
right, because they were, I know that some of the hazmat teams in the area were working with the OEM director up there, and in the past, he had provided them with those radiation detectors. So
Yes.
I know that there are some that go right around in the vehicles, so maybe we should try to, contact
Yeah,
him and see if he can
I'm
get
sure
them.
there's a route that we can take.
Can I just ask a question, just a technical question about these early warning? Were they, the 6,000, was it for one, or was it for the ability to have patrol? I mean, how did that work?
I believe it was for actually 4 units.
Yeah, I
4
can answer
units.
that. It was 4 units, and
Okay.
they were expected to go, I believe, in the supervisor's vehicles.
Okay. Thank you.
Computer technology upgrades. We'll-
You want to have Mr. Garrity come up,
Mr.
because
Garrity,
he's
And I'll tell you,
expert on that.
He'll fight you long and hard on this one.
We know.
Well, you know what, I may go down to Aruba tomorrow and take him up on that offer.
Hello.
Hello.
Reference to the computer technology upgrades, this is part of an ongoing project. As you know, computers are well integrated into public safety, into the police department. They're mission critical. They are used 24/7. They don't turn off. They do have shelf lives. We're down to, we have 100 computers. We have 60 in headquarters, 40 on the road. The 40 that are on the road, we're trying to transition to newer laptops. The old laptops are no longer produced. They're no longer supported. Those laptops in the patrol cars are the lifeline for the patrol officers. They're used for the check if a person's wanted. They're used to dispatch calls. They're used to obtain hazard information prior to responding to a resident. And it's important that we devote time, energy, and maintenance and upkeep to the computers for the department. And this is something that's important.
So you have to use the mic, please,
Oh, I'm sorry.
so that they can, so it picks you up.
I'm sorry.
No problem.
At this point, we are at the 7 or 8 year life of the computers. The servers definitely have to be replaced. If I lose my servers, we're losing the all of my database, my records, and everything else.
How much did you budget for the replacement of the servers?
We budgeted, that was included, I believe, in last year's budget. This is the second half. This request is for the second half. I believe all told, I believe the servers were $35,000 to $40,000.
Yeah,
I believe.
$35,000.
Yeah,
Okay, but,
35.
oh, so this 250,000 doesn't include the servers?
Correct. This is the second half. The servers I'm already in the process of getting.
And am I right, if I recall correctly from last year, this 250,000 is it 100 computers at 2,500 apiece, or am I?
It's somewhere in that area. It would probably be less. It should be less.
All right, so we're less than 250,000.
Well, 250,000 is a good number as far as, to cover ourselves. Can I get it down lower? I can try.
Does that include, there are actual new computers, correct?
Yes.
And does that would include everything included in that
Yes.
grand total,
well,
250
the
software?
laptops is what I'm more concerned about, the laptops and the patrol cars. And they have to be ruggedized, because if you just put a regular Dell in there, it's going to
You
last
can't do
about
it.
6 weeks. So the laptops themselves are about $4,000. They're the ruggedized. And with the docking stations, and we've been scrimping and with the existing docking stations that I have, but they're 6, 7 years old. They're starting to, the actual bolts and stuff are starting to come out of these things. To outfit an entire patrol car with the docking station and the laptop is probably about $6,000 to $7,000 per patrol car.
And you're, at this point, in your professional opinion, you're at a critical stage of going forward. If we were to say, okay, this year we can't afford to do this, next year we will look to doing it.
It'd be
What-
very difficult, and I'd be laying awake at night.
We don't want you to lay awake
And I
at
don't
night.
want to do that.
And that's because the computers are important, as you said. When you go to a call, you need to you have the dispatch, but you need to be able to get the information on the computer, wanted, very important information for the safety. At this point, are the laptops working, operating, that are in the patrol cars now?
Half of them are not.
Okay.
They, we have, a standby that are in the cars right now.
When you say standby, what is that?
I have about 10 to 15 computers that are totally out of the cars right now. I'm down to all my spares are in all the cars, and if anything else was to go down, we'd be in trouble.
Anybody else?
I have a question, Mayor, on this. Where are we looking going forward on this? I know there was a 5-year projection. I don't see it on the capital sheet. But if this money was approved, what are we looking at next year? Because this won't be all of the computers, correct?
This is the second half, so
Okay.
we would be finished with this project.
Oh, we would be?
Yes, we
Okay.
would. Yes, ma'am.
So, am I correct? Did I hear you that some of the money that we already allocated last year still hasn't been spent?
That's correct. We're in the process of doing it.
So at this time, if we approved less this year and added it on to next year, because we won't have this large expense next year, would that be okay with you?
How much money are we talking about?
Say if we were down from 250 to 150, and the 100,000 was for next year. You still haven't bought
Correct.
stuff that was allocated last year.
We could probably live with that.
Mr. Mayor, the only comment I would make on that is I got information from the county that this being an odd-numbered year, they are going ahead with an equipment lease program. which is a relatively cheap way of financing the equipment. That's done every other year. So we could finance this through the MCIA equipment lease program this year, where that will not be available next year. It's every other year.
Is that in
Talked
cap?
about that. We thought that was next
We
year.
thought that was even number of years.
No, it's odd-numbered years.
It is odd?
It is odd.
Okay.
Yes, I have a letter from them. They're actually looking for capital information by tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Isn't that a song?
Well, just projected capital information, and so, you
All
know,
right, so it was 2007 when we purchased the
it was
10 police
2007
cars,
when we, yes,
and we got them in 2008.
right.
All right.
So my only point would be, it would probably be cheaper to finance through the MCIA this year than the financing costs on our own next year.
So I can keep it in perspective. This year, what are we talking about interest rate wise through the Monmouth County Improvement Authority? 2%, 2.5%?
Yeah, AAA rating, yeah, it's probably around 2.5% right now, yes.
Yeah, I
Plus
understand.
the arbitrage, the interest rate, any money we don't spend comes off our interest costs, so, it'll probably come out something less than 2.5.
I understand. Next year, what would you anticipate if we didn't do it all this year? 3.5%, 3.75%, Mr. Filiaccio? Pretty
Yeah.
safe number?
Yeah, I would think maybe, you know, that's used in this year's rates. I would think, you know, we're an A+ rated, so our interest rate would be a little higher than the counties with the AAA. I would think that's a good rate for now, and heavens knows what the interest rates are going to do next year. I don't think they're going to move a lot, but I
Well,
think they're going up.
I remember when we bonded about 3 years ago, we paid like 4.3, 4.4%?
Yes, that's long-term, that was a long-term bond, yes.
This is shorter-term capital,
This is
correct?
short-term capital, yes, so you're probably looking at something in the high threes, maybe a 4.
And this is like 5-year money, or?
Yeah, I
7-year?
wouldn't finance this any further than 5 years, absolutely not.
'Cause you gotta do it for the use.
That's right, that's right.
Captain Scott, I know you wanted to say something, sir.
No, I just wanted to reinforce, I know that the chief of police would certainly want to move along this project on the schedule that we have set up, just due to the reason that, much like Steve Garrity has said, you know, these computers are used 24/7. I think when I first came on, we were lucky to have an AM radio in the car, and the work
And
of
you
these
were jamming.
computers, we were lucky to have that. Yeah, no air conditioning either. But, I mean, it's amazing what these computers do for the guys on the road, and it's certainly a motivative tool. You know, they're running plates, they're coming up with different things, they're getting the information back quicker, and, you know, if you just take a look at what's going on in the world today, you know, 3 cops killed in Pittsburgh, 4 out in Oakland, and all these other ones, you know, the quicker they get the information, the safer they're gonna be.
Absolutely. We want them to be as safe as possible, and all of them to come home every night. Okay? Anybody from the council?
Mayor, I would think with the savings on the interest rate alone, that it would be fairly prudent for us to take advantage of the Monmouth County Improvement Authority number this year and leave the 250 intact, let the project get done, because it'll pay for itself over that 5-year time frame if we waited that extra year and changed it to 150 this year and then tried to bond it ourselves next year for the 100 grand.
Well, just remember that, though, when it comes to all the other things that come before us, because they also go through the Monmouth County Improvement Authority, can they not, Mr. Filiaccio?
If they're equipment related, if they are equipment, certainly we cannot do a road overlay program or anything like that we have yet to talk about, but equipment related we can do through them.
I am all for.
I have one, and this is just a question, because I really don't have a clue the answer. Our costs, the cost of things of this nature, I'm really not technologically savvy at all. People take care of me like a infant with diapers when it comes to technology. Are costs coming down?
Yes.
Not to the extent you would think.
I
They
have
would
no
be.
clue. I'm asking that as a,
There may be some costs coming down, but I don't think you're going to see a dramatic drop in the prices of those things.
okay.
Especially when it comes to governments and municipalities and public safety, and you don't see too much of a drop in those prices.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's not
Unfortunately.
exactly free enterprise out there like there is in the real world.
Well, it's just because it's so specialized to law enforcement, and they realize that every year you're going to need it, or every few years you're going to need it. And this is, you can't go to another vendor and say, okay, let's go get a Dell, let's go get some other computer. It's very specialized.
In the real world right now, you can go and say, listen, I'll give you the contract, do the whole thing for $180,000, and they'll come back with a signed contract. Welcome to the real world. I'm okay with that. All right, I'll agree with the rest of the council that with this year being the Monmouth County Improvement Authority money, and with the chief's recommendation. We'll have to go from there.
Thank you.
So that one's a go.
How about the last one?
Automated external defibrillators. Captain Scott?
Okay, this is in regards to a 2004 directive from the New Jersey State Department of Health. The American Red Cross, in conjunction with American Heart Association, changed the standards of CPR to the point where the AEDs, or the majority of AEDs that we have, the defibrillators, are antiquated. The rhythms aren't conducive to work with the new CPR standard. They did put out that everything was supposed to be changed. However, I couldn't get anything in writing from them. We're looking, and also with the age of our AEDs, where they're getting now too, we should at least start thinking about maybe changing some of them, if not all of them. So, 25,000 would, certainly probably put us over the top as far as changing all of them. But if the council were to feel, to reduce it and give us at least some money, maybe we can start, each year for the next couple of years, changing a few of them. That'd be appreciated.
Just a recommendation, I would say let's knock it down to 10,000 for now. Anybody?
Fine with me.
I agree.
Thank you, Captain Scott.
Thank you.
Security, sleep well in Howell Township, knowing Captain Scott's on the job, okay? All of us in Howell Township sleep well.
Okay,
Recreation, refurbishing the parks to meet ADA compliance. Where's my head of recreation?
He had school tonight.
Okay. Does this have to be done this year?
No.
I would lower the number. We do have some issues with some safety surface, so I would lower the number to 50,000. I don't think you can avoid it altogether. I think you need to get on a good maintenance program on bringing all the parks up to standard.
Anybody else?
So we have some safety issues if we don't address, we
That's
could be
correct.
facing some
That's correct.
liability for injuries.
Absolutely.
I'm fine with the recommendation.
That's unacceptable to me.
Me too.
And what was it?
50,000?
50,000 was the number?
Okay. Mr. Kramer?
He doesn't even want to come up here.
Let's go.
It's good to see Mr. Kramer took that helicopter off the list this year, though.
That was great. That was great seeing that helicopter on there. It really was.
You're
Jackson,
welcome.
advantage it. Let's start. Geovac street sweeper, 250,000. Is it needed, is it wanted, and what you doing costs $250,000?
I'll just give you the facts straightforward. We have 2 street sweepers.
Okay?
One of them should be in the junk pile before I got here, long before I got here. We rarely use it, it's mechanical. We have one of the new air generative types that was bought, I don't know, 8, 9 years ago. That works fine. We run 1 sweeper. The rate we're doing now, we can get to your street about once a year. I'd like to see that program upped, but
You get to my street right now once a year?
approximately,
need
yes.
another
My
one.
street looks just fine.
Do you
I'm
thi-
for removing the 250,000 sweeper at this time. Anybody else?
I'm good with that.
Leaf vacuum trailer, 33,000. Mr. Kramer?
We started here when I came in '06. The objective of the program was to improve the leaf program. so that
You've
we
done a
wouldn't
great
get
job. You have improved the lead program.
hundreds of calls, so that people would get serviced. We divide the town into 5 equal sections by area and population. We started that in late '06 when I came on board. '07, you went ahead and gave us the funds to get the leaf vacuums up to 10 units, so we could have 5 sections of town, 2 in each section simultaneously. We are one short. We'd like to make that goal. We're going to continue to improve that service, and I'm just not letting go there. There's too many places to be at one time. We owe the residents an obligation to be everywhere as promptly as we can, and this is what we need to do it.
What is the,
It's not it's a tow behind, so the price isn't real pricey here. It's something we tow behind existing trucks we have.
Mr. Filiaccio, when we do a leaf vacuum trailer, what's the life of it?
I don't know for sure without looking up. My gut reaction on something like that is I wouldn't want to finance it for more than 5. With the replacement program going on, I think we show a 5-year life on them.
Can we, just a suggestion, can we revisit this when we're done with Mr. Kramer? At the end?
Sure.
Mr. Kramer, this one would be to replace that last white one you have, the small one?
That's correct.
And that white one, the white one that we have, I believe, is about half the size of the ones that you've been buying. Is that true?
Yeah, it's on its way out.
But it's still working. Huh? Okay, I would like to revisit. Anybody else?
I'm for pulling it out now, if we have one that still has some usefulness. I mean, I think you and I had an informal conversation, just the 2 of us, about, you know, if I have a 1997 Lexus with a beat-up fender, but it's still drivable, you know what? My kid's going to drive it, and that's it. So we're not buying a new car.
I'm envisioning my old Volkswagen, the yellow with 4 different color fenders. I love that.
That looks like Mr. Kramer's leaf.
So I'm inclined to take it out. No offense, Jeff.
Anybody else? If it's still working, I'm gonna have to bow to Deputy Mayor Dalton here. I'm sorry, and you have done a tremendous job. When I first came on council, the number 1 thing that we got emails about, we received, I'm working on my English, was the picking up of the leaves in town. And that has decreased 90 to 95% in the last few years. I think you've done a terrific job. And I wish that I had,
We're headed there.
you've
Real
done a
close to where I
terrific
want to be.
job.
Okay.
I'll take, if I took the leaf vacuum trailer out and still got 5% of the letters, that'd be okay with me in these tough economic times,
Yeah.
okay? Anybody else? Councilwoman Dalton. Deputy Mayor, I'm sorry, rack body, 4 wide with the plow is a necessity, Mr. Kramer.
We use 2 trucks to pick up the metal. We do bulk pickup. When we come to your house to pick up the bulk pickup based on homeowner call, which is probably the biggest service we offer there, we bring a packer truck. Anything that can go in landfill gets put in there, furniture, carpeting, that kind of stuff. All metal item gets put on a lift gate truck, taken directly to Blewitz. We get a little bit of money back for it. Market's good, we get more, whatever. It doesn't go to the landfill. It's not allowed in the landfill. So it has to be source separated out. Starting in 2010, mandate, well, it's in the new county recycling program, all electronics, TVs, computers, they're all going to have to be collected same fashion, same type truck, and source separated out back at our facility here, no longer in the landfill. So we have 2 items now we'll be picking up, both.
Doesn't it take them to a recycling place in Lakewood, a company, takes computers and...
They're trying to make sure that the businesses that sell them provide, that will be part of the county program. If you are Best Buy or whatever and you sell them, you have to provide some opportunity for customers to bring them back there.
Kind of like
But I can
tires.
guarantee you that anytime we get a bulk call today, I guarantee I can listen to the phone all day. Do you take computers? You take the towers, the stuff? This is all out of the landfill as of the 1st of January, 1 year from now.
Can I
So-
shorten my questions to you?
Okay.
You have $2 million worth of equipment you want here. Okay? I need to know what you need to have to run Howell Township in 2009.
I realize that.
Okay?
Right.
If you need all of this, then just say, I need every last drop of it in order to run Howell Township in 2009. If you don't, please tell me what you can do without.
Okay, right off the top here, we could take out the street sweeper. We already discussed the
We
leak.
already did.
Okay.
That doesn't count anymore.
You kind of led me on that one, so I don't have the
Okay.
opportunity, but we could take off the 5-yard truck with plow. It's after the roll-off truck. That
That's
can come out.
$165,000.
Right. And the box truck with lift gate, 45,000.
And on the next item, Mr. Kramer, I put this on your capital. I
Yes,
know
sir.
you don't even know about it, I'm sorry.
Kramer got nailed for $500,000, he didn't know it was coming.
No, Mayor, I know we had a discussion on the GPS, so I put it on here
So we could see
just
it.
to give, so that you could see the cost.
Is it that much?
Yes, it is. That's for 5 years.
That's a 5-year contract
Yes,
for installation, maintenance,
yes,
monitoring, the whole ball of wax.
yes, sir.
Now, we have to pay for all at once, or how do we?
We finance it.
We
Well,
Fine.
we finance
Right.
it, but, right, we finance it, but when does the vendor get its money?
No, it would be on a monthly or however, Mr. Filiaccio would probably pay the whole thing.
I mean, if this is.
Because
if
it's
this
the
is
package, it's the whole
lease or-
package, right.
I mean, if this is a lease or a monthly payment type, it probably doesn't even belong in capital.
No,
If
this,
this is a capital, where we're actually going to take ownership of equipment and we have support as far as maintenance and everything, then that's a capital item, so.
that's what it is. We would take ownership and we would have support for 5 years.
And when you spoke to the vendor, did they assure us of yielding some kind of I mean, what are we getting for this $450,000?
It's the GPS on all the vehicles, and it's the monitoring system, like, for example, it's in real time. You go onto a website, anybody can go, well, not anyone, you have users
Anyone
and
with
determine,
authority,
right,
right.
anyone with authority. It'll show you, for example, if besides showing the location of the vehicles, it also shows you all the maintenance. If an oil light goes on, it immediately sends a message to the mechanics. If there's been a recall from the company, it'll show you. You can get, for I believe 30 days, you can get a breadcrumb trail that'll show you exactly where the cars have been. It'll tell you, like, for example, if they're idling for a long time or those types of things. It's really protects our assets. And I know that the mayor had spoken to me about it, so I reached out to
I've
vendor.
spoken in depth to some different municipalities, some elected officials in other towns, to some different vendors. I didn't know the cost.
Right. It
But I
also
love-
becomes it's for safety, those types of things.
This would also, I would imagine, because it does tell us real time where the vehicle is, I'm sure this is something the police department would kind of look good upon, because if a car's sitting idle for a while and they haven't heard from the officer for a while, they know to send another car, go look. Correct?
Correct.
This includes the police
Yes, it
cars?
does. Yes, it does.
Every vehicle we have?
Yes,
200 vehicles?
yes.
Even that Geo Metro out there?
I think that's going to the junkyard.
Give it to the clerk.
Okay, let's get back to the top here. Well, on the GPS, are we okay with that, or are we taking it out? A or B?
Oh, no, I'm good with leaving it in.
Absolutely. I think
I'm
it's,
good with
it's,
leaving it
it's
in.
it's a safety item that should be installed in the vehicles. And if any managers or department heads want to do a check of whereabouts of where the vehicles are, they can do it.
Well, I think I want to make it clear that it's really not an issue of, like, necessarily looking to see where people are. It's really more of a efficiency operation and a safety issue, too. For example, the dispatcher would see in real time where a police car was in a sector, who was the closest, could get there the quickest, those types of things.
Okay, I think it's a lot of money. I mean, that's my concern, certainly a lot of money, and would be something that we could not spend all in one year. If that was the case, then I
Well-
would be for it.
Well, we're not
No,
really
you-
spending it.
Yeah, you
We're
really,
borrowing.
right, you'd have to purchase it as the 5, I mean, you wouldn't invest in the equipment and that type of thing for 1 year.
No.
You need
Like
the
the
support.
equipment's still good after 5 years, you would have to do a new maintenance
That's correct.
contract.
That's correct.
So the equipment's still good.
It actually plugs into, if you're familiar with the OBD readers, you know, never mind.
No.
Okay.
Now, you lost me at all.
It's when you go to the car dealer and he plugs the computer in and tells you
Right.
what's wrong with the car.
Right.
Oh,
Oh,
It
okay.
actually runs through
Well,
there.
hold on. Listen, Mayor, when somebody takes your car to the dealer and they plug it,
Oh. Oh.
So also for the Public Works Department, it tells them when the car needs to come in for service, and like I said, they'll get a text message or a, you can have a text message right to the mechanic or right to his computer that'll let them know that there's a problem with the vehicle that the driver may not even know.
to
So-
explain it easier for the mayor, it does the same thing that the OnStar does in his car.
That's correct. That's correct.
Could we see after we send out the RFPs, well, we can always revisit this and say no at a later date, could we not?
You certainly are going to have to, with a purchase of this nature, you're going to have to pass a resolution to authorize that purchase, authorize that contract at a later date, absolutely.
Okay, so why don't we keep it in there for now? Let's see what comes back when we send out.
Right, because truthfully, I mean, I had to just get a ballpark figure from one company. I mean, you would absolutely have to go out.
All right, rock body with the plow, $80,000. The third thing on there, Mr. Kramer, definitely needed.
Well, I put these items in, and I've been through the list many times before last November. We sat down with the township manager, weeded out items, and her instructions to me at that time were absolute necessity or forget it. I brought a description of all the vehicles that we're asking to replace, and if someone took time to read through them, you'll see that they're 15, 17, 19 years old. If you came down and looked at them, you could put your foot through the floorboard with no trouble, and that's what I'm asking to replace here. I'm
Little
not,
sheet metal, right, Mr. Tantillo? Little sheet metal, all it would need.
and they spend more time in the bay of the garage being fixed. So I'm trying to be realistic with you
Okay,
and tell you where I'm at. And
anybody else, any other questions on,
What do you mean? There's a lot here. I mean, what's the most important thing you need on this list? Go with this assumption. I hate to be blunt about it, but you're not getting everything on this list. So what is the one or two things that are the most critical?
okay, the Packer truck has got to be replaced. It's number one on my list. I prioritized them back in November, and it's still there. Number two is a roll-off truck. That's number two on my list. The Mason dumps.
All three or how many?
One
all
of them
three?
is slightly newer. The other two should have been junked. They were put on and asked for in my '06 budget. '07, this is the third year they've been on the budget line. And every year we've said, okay, let's cut back. Two of them.
we've been buying stuff for you, Mr. Kramer, we just can't buy everything that you think
I
you need.
understand that. I
okay.
fully
Come
understand.
on.
I sit here many nights when you've had budget hearings, so I'm well aware of it. And then the park equipment was put in
We have-
as a necessity just to maintain Bonham Park.
I understand that.
The park utility vehicles? That what you're
We
talking
have
about?
some old hand-down ones from the county that they got.
I thought 2 years ago, we authorized money for
that I'm aware of.
vehicles for Bonham.
Did it does,
Then at one point, Howell Girls Softball said they'd buy the field dresser,
and
and then one of the soccer said they were gonna
Well, I
buy
can tell you I can tell you positively, that turf overseeder, we've been asking for probably 8 years.
No, I'm talking about the turf utility, or the utility vehicles, the 2 utility vehicles for the parks for 40 grand.
soccer definitely offered to buy something. when that
Well,
was president.
I think what you should do is we're having a meeting tomorrow, as a matter of fact, to address some of the field issues at Bonham Park. So after that meeting, I think I will send out that information on where we're going, what direction that we're going in. with the park, because we'll be meeting with those organizations and get some firm commitment. I mean, you know, just because someone said it
No, I agree.
doesn't mean that it's going to become a reality. So I think we need to get some concrete information before you make a decision on that.
But I could almost remember the conversation when we talked about the infield machine for the softball field, because Mayor DeBella was sitting there and wanted to know why we just didn't get the guys from Yankee Stadium to do YMCA walking around the field.
What in, I don't, what are you talking about, the turf tractor?
No, the field dressing machines, which is one of these 2 utility vehicles.
No, I don't
No,
think
they're
it's-
not.
They're not.
No, they're not.
All right, so we need 2 more now, because originally we needed 1
These are,
to pick up the garbage.
what do you call them? Yeah.
They're like gators.
What,
Yes.
yeah.
It's
Right, like a gator, but not as rugged as the
Right, but
gator.
that was in the budget in 2007,
I'll check it out.
okay?
don't know. Parks wasn't under my direction at that time, so I really don't know.
It was definitely spoken, I don't know if it was in the budget.
Could you deal with one?
If we have to, yes.
Okay.
I mean, I could tell you what the
We're down to
2...
1, thank you,
Okay.
Mr. Kramer. Okay, can you deal with 2 4x4 dumps instead of 3?
Yes, we already said that.
We're down to 2.
Yes.
So that's 160.
That's 593,000 we've taken already. I have no issue from there. I want to speak with Recreation, would you please,
No, just for the roof pack
Well,
and the roll-off.
the Parks has gone over to Public Works Department.
the Parks has went over to Public Works,
Right,
Correct.
that's correct.
okay?
But after we have the meeting with the sports organizations with Bonham, I think we have a better idea of what you're going to need.
After what you've cut and after what we've cut, are you satisfied with that, Ms. Schlegel, or should we be taking more?
I think you should take another truck.
Which one?
One of those Mason dumps?
We already took 1, we're down to 2 there. What would you like, a roll-off truck, a Packer trash truck, or a Mason?
Take another Mason off there.
Took another Mason, thank you, Mr. Schlegel. Mr. Filiaccio, with all we've taken, do you think we should take some more, Mr. Filiaccio? Let's get a little bit more out of Mr. Kramer here.
No, I don't do trucks. I do numbers.
Mr. Pelosi?
Same.
Mrs. Dalton, are you okay yet or no?
Still, how much are we up to? Over 600,000?
I just have a couple of holes here that maybe I'm confused over what we funded and didn't fund. Did we leave the rack body in or not?
Yes.
Black body, yes, we left in. The rear Packer trash truck, we left in. 1 Mason-style dump, we left in. 1 roll-off truck, we left in.
What's the roll-off truck for?
It's a large truck that carries the roll-off bodies. Any versatile, you can put on
Okay,
them.
all right.
30-yard, 20-yard dumpsters, we use them all the time at our recycle center. Collection of leaves and brush.
And how many of those trucks do we have right now?
We have 2. And they are used steadily. And at the end of the season, we collect 12,000 cubic yards of leaves, most of which are staged right here. Week after we're done with leaves, or beginning of right in December, we take them all to 2 or 3 different farms. And hauling them in a 5-yard truck means like 75 trips. And this holds like 4 or 5 dump truck loads at one time. They're very efficient.
My only concern, well, not my only concern, but one of my concerns is that this is a lot of vehicle specs to prepare, okay? And are we really going to be able to spend it, get it together, get out to bid, and get all these trucks within the year? Because if we're really not going to do that, then we should do half of what you're appropriating now and then half next year? I mean, are we going to be able to get all of this done and spent in the 1 year? That's another critical question.
Be careful how you answer this one, Mr. Kramer.
Well, when we get the funding, we have one or two trucks we're still haven't been out to bid for. We try and buy under the state contract, most of the medium and duty and lighter duty trucks, because you can get the best price. But that state contract ended in September last year, and is now kicking back in again this month. They're just starting to come online. So to take opportunity of that's your best price.
Are they lower
Most of
this
these
year than last
vehicles,
year?
most of these vehicles, the chassis are available under state contract, and with or without the body. So we need to make sure we take that action in time, hopefully before these contracts ends in September. They call them a year contract, but they end them off in September, and get those in time so we can have the trucks ordered, hopefully ordered through state contract and on the way for delivery in late fall, early winter would be the most practical. I think our capital money was available in September of last year, September, October.
So it was almost up by the time the money was available.
Pretty close, yes.
Okay.
I'm for taking out the roll-off.
We already have 2 roll-offs?
We own 2 trucks right now. The older one, the one that we say is not worth repairing anymore, the 200,000 miles, it's had it. We're saying replace it. The other one is a newer one. It's fine.
Is that one gonna go if you get the replacement? Are you
Yeah,
gonna-
it's not worth, we looked at the options of replacing the back, all the apparatus on the back of the truck. It's not worth it. The truck's gonna give up pretty soon.
Okay.
We've always looked at those options in the past. If we could replace the body and the engine and the cab are still good, of course. And we've looked carefully at the figures, and when figures are more, for the apparatus, and the truck's gonna be shut, it's like throwing money down the drain. It's not worth it.
All right, so if we keep this one in the budget, you're still only gonna have 2, you're not gonna have 3?
No, we're getting, anything we purchase is, anything that's on here is being replaced, goes out, what's there goes as trade or junk.
All right. I'm okay with keeping it. Anybody else?
I'm good.
I'm good.
We got our vote on that with Deputy Mayor.
No problem.
No problem. I'm
If-
fine
if we
with
can
Mr.
finish
Kramer.
the-
Anything else we need?
If we can finish that list we were working on, there's
We were
mower
fine.
in or out.
The only other thing we did 1 dump truck, we kept the roll-off. We got rid of the 5-yard dump truck, correct?
Correct.
We kept the large rotary turf mower. We went down to 1 park utility vehicle from 2. We stayed with the turf overseeder, the turf tractor, and we're going to, we got rid of the box truck with the lift gate early in our conversation.
We're buying the GPS.
We're
Okay,
gonna
so
go
we
with
are,
GPS. We're
Yes.
gonna look at it after it comes back from bid.
so we are now at 1,171,000.
Yes, we had taken off 673, and you had already taken a
That's
good
correct.
chunk from them beforehand.
Yes.
Try next year not to, God keeps me around, to have so much in there.
Mr. Filiato, can that turf tractor come out of the basin fund?
I thought that was for Bonham.
We have basins at bottom.
We have basins all over.
Not purchased by developers.
I don't think that falls within the realm of equipment used for basin maintenance.
I can only ask.
Well, these aren't just used for bottom, these vehicles you want, is that correct?
All parks.
All parts.
Yeah, I don't think they're exclusive for basins either. That's.
Now and then you gotta piss, Mr. Filion. No. All right, we're done with that. Improvement to buildings. Who's there?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Council.
God bless you,
Thanks,
gentlemen. Have a good evening.
Go on and start writing specs, Mr. Kramer.
Yeah.
Mr. Kramer, get after those
Actually, I
specs,
probably
will you?
should say that.
We don't want none of that money left. If it's there in January next year,
Right.
make the list a little smaller.
Mayor, to Councilman Howe's point is we may be able to take the mason dump out of the basin account.
Because it'll be hauling the lawnmower to the basin.
We do use mason dumps for maintenance of
Of-
those
right.
basins. You know, that is equipment that we do use in the basins. And so, you know, maybe not the turf tracker, but I think that the
Right, but they
mason
do
dump
use the
you left
mason
in.
dumps to put the weed whackers and everything else in, and then they have the trailer behind it
Absolutely.
hauling the
Yes.
lawnmowers to all of these basins that we have.
Why? We can do it. Let's just do
Yeah, it's,
Good, so we just lowered that number.
it. Good.
okay, we have money in that fund, correct?
That's, yes, that's a funding method. We're still gonna, still gonna show in our capital budget. You still will authorize it. It is just a funding method that we use there.
I believe
Take two
Mr.
minutes.
Nunziato could tell us Mr.
2
Williams
minutes or-
has a
yeah.
rather large basin
Well,
fund
yeah, I don't care. I gotta
number
go
coming up.
Definitely by 7:30.
Litigation.
I'm not litigating that.
All right, let's go. No break,
No break?
no break. Improvements to building, landscaping, 20,000 for all buildings?
Yeah, different ones just as it goes, but
It's fine.
You have to do landscaping, what are you gonna do? Boiler, 75,000, not a necessity.
the boiler we, last year, you actually gave us money to replace. We have 2 boilers that feed the 3 buildings at the top of the campus here, rec and fire. Gave us money, we're waiting on the green buildings to determine what we're replacing. The other boiler leaks, but once we put a new one in, we might need to visit you next year about it, though.
Take it out.
Okay, take it out. Septic system repair, 50,000, Public Works Building?
It's failing.
be kidding.
We pump it on a regular basis. We're definitely a lot larger department than we were when the building was put in, and we're real close to the wetlands. We need to look at an overall plan, though. Excuse me.
When we come at an overall plan in 2009, why don't we look at an overall plan in
We need
2009?
all the complex here. We're having problems with all the septics. There's too
are
many
you-
people up here, and it needs to be looked at.
Are we paying a lot of money to have it pumped? I mean, if you're having someone, is it every?
Every month, they're paying for each building roughly $5,000, $500 to $1,000, each building being within its own. So for the month, maybe we'd be around 2,000. Police, library, up here. we won't discuss.
That adds up with the
Yeah.
So you're
pumping.
saying
Now, having a septic
24,000
myself,
in a
I
year?
understand that.
I'm sorry,
Expensive.
Saying 24,000 in a year we pay to pump the septic?
depending on if it's a wet season.
And if we do this $50,000 improvement, how much
As
is?
repairs one.
It's just the
That's just
Department of
one-
Public Works.
That's just the one septic, then we got
Okay,
PD,
so-
library, town halls, and town halls is
So
a
it's
much
gonna be
larger.
1,500 a month from 2,000 if we fix this one?
Yeah, probably the heaviest is the PDs, the heavier, the volume. It's the people that generate the water.
I think we need to look at a total plan. This'll work for now, everything?
We can get it through.
The stuff will still flow?
Stuff flows downhill.
That's why we're at the top.
DPW, you need doors?
DPW doors, I think we can take that out for now. We discussed another option.
Yes.
Get it out of there.
All right, I'm gonna go out on a limb here. Can we
Addition?
live without an addition to the senior center
Yes.
this year?
Yeah, yes.
So I guess we can live, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to,
Get
but
rid of the 85.
no architectural study either then? Yeah.
Right.
The only thing is, at one time, I think we need to look at that seriously.
One of the comments from the past that, as far as the architectural work, is if we can get a community development block grant, as we did for putting the elevator in there, we need to be ready to go, and we have to put in the architectural work ourselves. So, you might lose a year as far as the grant, and therefore maybe risk the funding if you're not ready to go. But I don't know where we are with CDBG yet to turn around and say,
Yeah, they're gonna take it.
we have to put it in, but it is something we would have to spend, in order to get the grant and be ready to go with the community development block grant.
30.
And I think the council's going to have to look at a whole facilities plan, because currently you have some major issues that I don't want to go into tonight on your buildings. And I think what you need to do is that you're going to have to start looking at not investing bad money after bad money.
Right.
And you're really going to have to do a facilities analysis and see how much it's costing you and in what direction that you want to go in.
So with the senior center here, is there any recommendation, we're not gonna do the addition, should we do the ramp now? Shouldn't it be in a...
The ramp is just, they wanted a second means, excuse me, if the main door's down, to have a different way to bring them in. It's
Okay.
not of, yeah.
So we
it-
can take that away.
And I think until, like I said, you evaluate your facilities and your needs, before you invest any big-time dollars, I think you, as a council, have to make some tough decisions.
I agree.
Do you have to have the mechanical door for the main entrance, or is that one?
That one's on the borderline. Some of the older folks need assistance getting in. Right now, they're doing it by a person opens the door for them.
That's a good way of solving that.
Okay.
That's how it's being handled right now.
I'll tell you what, I hope you never judge when I'm in the courtroom. She could be cold, man.
Not being big. $9,500 is somebody's 8 weeks of furlough.
All right, so the senior center,
We didn't give them anything, right?
so we're done with the senior center,
That's correct.
okay?
Pull that ladder.
Improvement to old OEM building. You gotta be kidding me.
I can't believe it's even in here.
No, this is the
The old
one on Squonkam Yellowbrook Road.
Yeah, next to the.
Take it out.
What is that?
SAOE.
I mean, was that to tear it
We've-
down?
We've just sent, I have a letter going to the New Jersey American Water asking if they would be interested in purchasing that property.
They were interested in a person years ago, we didn't sell it to them, right?
That's correct.
That's okay.
We
Real
can still
estate's
try.
up, tell 'em real estate's higher on Squonkam Yellowbrook. Improvements to the library, does this have to be done? I'll tell you,
This we actually have had a citizen complain about. We've installed a door button that rings, and now the people from the library handle it. The door, when that was designed, it cannot meet the handicap pulls. It's more than the 5 pound that's allowed. The price, that seemed a double price, but there's actually 2 set of doors. If you realize, when you go up the library, you hit one at the top of the ramp, and then you hit another set that's on the inside. So in order to fix the problem, we'd have to do both doors.
So you're saying for someone who is handicapped?
Handicap, the gentleman's actually in a wheelchair, and with the weight of the pull on the
Right.
door actually
He
moves
can't-
him around in the wheelchair.
We made immediate and special comments to make sure this was taken when the call came last year. And I have a hard time struggling to open the door just normally, standing there. We immediately put a buzzer in so the librarian comes out to open the door for anybody that's in an actually handicapped. It's an issue, and I think we need to address this. The library is, obviously, I don't need to tell you.
No, I agree. I actually agree with it. If it's, you know,
do we feel confident that's gonna stay a library? Because I have heard rumors from the county that some of the libraries will be closing in the county. Do we feel confident that they'll remain a library?
I don't have any confirmation on that, one way or the other.
Or nothing.
I can certainly get a letter out to the Board of Freeholders.
And I definitely, well, we gotta do something
we have to
about
do that
it.
immediately, I
Yeah,
think.
yeah, that's not, I don't think that's up for debate. Before I would agree to doing carpet or ceiling tiles, I would wanna make sure we stay in the library. We're talking
Could definitely
$43,000.
wait till next
And,
year.
and we just, so you know, there had been other departments that we have issues, obviously, with carpet. I mean, we have safety issues if you've ever been upstairs.
Yeah.
So,
I can't believe
What,
the
you're
condition of the
So
building.
I wouldn't,
Yeah.
I think they're on the priority list. This probably isn't in the top 10.
All right, but we agree to keep on those mechanical doors.
Yes.
I think that's important.
Well, since we're on carpet, improvements to the police and court, the police want new carpet for $35,000.
No.
They've been asking for that for about 4
Replace
years.
the chiller,
It's running.
What is
And
that?
That's the air conditioning. unit.
conditioning.
Okay.
It-
Chiller,
it-
I
it
guess
chill-
that's the
it
name.
cools water out back. We pump the cold water through the building. It's been in there since the building's been up. It's definitely not efficient, but it is running.
but it is running, and
Okay.
it is gone.
It worked.
We don't have to discuss that. Other projects, tax collector filing cabinets.
Hold on, so we're down to 35 grand on our first one?
38 grand on the,
Okay.
38, yeah.
Tax collector,
No.
no.
police, 15 chairs for the conference room.
I thought we were getting 15 chairs from someplace in Staten Island last year for that
I
conference.
got it, I've said it numerous times, I have them sitting in storage. Okay, next,
Well, let's get them, do them.
road program. I'll be adamant about the roads,
Gotta do it.
okay? I do not wanna, me personally, I do not want to go away from the road program being set up and being done. Okay? You know, to not maintain it properly and do what's necessary will only cost this township more in the long run. I'm not into short-term vision on everything. So, me personally, I'm gonna do nothing with the road program other than keep constant vigilance with Ms. Nunziata that's being followed up on, and that everything's being done appropriately.
I do want to make one comment on that. The capital budget was prepared in September, probably 7-8 months ago. Last summer, we were asked to look at the villages and give a number. I actually did a separate number for the entire villages as a capital sheet,
Bill, it's taken care of.
but they were combined.
It's taken care of.
Okay, very good. Leave it
Pavement
alone.
management system, inspections and
Hold on, Mayor.
administrative.
Mayor, as part, and you and I had talked about this a little bit, I think 2 Sundays ago. Is there any way that we could take some of the money from that road program and use it to pave some of Bonham? Because to me, getting somebody out of a handicapped parking spot in a wheelchair and then rolling them across 1.5-inch
Gravel.
stone is insanity.
I
There's not even a
believe,
path there for anybody to walk on.
I believe I sent the council an updated cost on paving. I think it was in the attachments.
Yeah, it was there.
Yeah,
When they were there doing the roads, they offered to do all the paving for $65,000, correct, Ms. Nunziata?
It was in the 50 to 100,000 range, correct?
It was
Yeah.
about $65,000 was the number that was told to me, and I said, let's do it now, and now they want $500,000
That's correct.
to go back and do it. I mean, that's just,
That's correct. Additionally, you need to be cognizant of the fact that there are areas that cannot be paved because of the buffers regarding Category 1 stream. Am I correct?
Yes,
No?
there's a 300-foot buffer. The area that's previously disturbed, you can go to 150 feet. So there's an area in the back of the girls' softball parking lot that has to remain gravel, as well as one of the roadways that connect the parking lots in the southern end of the site.
I agree
100
with
feet
Councilman Howell on the paving, without a question. My concern is that the difference between the 65,000 and 500,000 is
Well,
crazy.
I think there's probably somewhat of a happy medium. What we wound up doing was we made some substitutions. There was supposed to be some kind of cover, a barrier underneath the stone. We changed the stone out so that we could actually roll the stone and pave on top of it. And the fact that you're not mobilizing for this, at the time they could have done that. So I think what we may be able to do is, if we wanted to, we could certainly write our contract for this year's program and include that in there, and that may reduce the price.
Because we're not
significantly.
mobilizing because they're already out.
Right.
Right. Why don't we reach out to them and try to see if we could bring that number down considerably,
Yeah,
though?
blacktop is blacktop. I don't have a problem putting into a contract, absolutely.
When you say reach out to them, we send the road paving projects out to bid every
Yes.
year?
Yes.
Absolutely.
So you mean that would be included in whatever
That's correct.
bid proposals
Right.
we get from the asphalt companies?
Yes, because as to Mr. Nunziato's point, is we wouldn't be bringing them out only for Bonham.
Right.
And the estimate that we had gotten when we were looking for prices on how much it would cost now would include the mobilization. Well, whatever that is would now not be part of that, because we would be using them for other roads.
and then they'll get another $2 million worth of work, so they're
Right,
much more
that's
apt to come down on the
exactly.
price.
Okay.
I would like to see that done. I would be very careful about what we cannot cover. I don't want to find out later on that we went and paved over something that can't be paved over.
We won't become another town.
Yeah, I would like us to be very careful about that. Why it wasn't put in the initial is one of the things, I've been adamant about from the beginning. How that wasn't in phase 1 is just beyond my knowledge. And so, curbs and sidewalks, we have to do that, correct? Or should we cut it down, anybody? $150,000?
Can we-
Mr. Nunziata? Do you need $150,000?
We could cut it to 100.
Thank you.
I almost, the way you did that so easily, I almost said 80. I mean, inspection improvement, intersection improvements, we could definitely cut that.
No, this is actually very important, because these are the things that you don't anticipate when you go to a council meeting and someone says, I have a blind spot, or I want to do something here or there, and you need to do, survey work or easements, the design work that is unanticipated.
All right, Capital Coast Trail, anybody? What's up with
Why don't I explain that one?
Yes.
Yeah, what's up with that? I've heard you explain it before.
Not from the beginning.
No, this is a project that was started several years ago, and there are grants out there that if you have a project-ready design, you're eligible for monies. And that's what this was. This was a design that was done several years ago, and the price, probably back in 2004 or 2005, was, $400 and some odd thousand. We do put that in there just in case there are grants that would allow us to apply for it. The whole trail itself, yes, is $400,000 or $500,000 probably at this point, but we don't anticipate that it will get funded.
Okay, so you don't expect us to fund it, is that correct?
That's correct.
But we just have to, we keep it in the budget just in case, is that the
Right,
idea?
and you won't, right, and
But we're not going to write any
Absolutely not.
cap, okay.
absolutely not.
Okay.
Memorial Drive lighting, is that really going to be done?
That's up to you.
Have all the easements? Didn't we have issues with the easements and
Yeah, they were on the wrong side of the road.
the right-of-ways?
Yes, sir.
Okay, didn't we have numerous, okay. Has anybody spoken to the barrister at the time, Mr. Gannon?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do we still have issues?
Some.
All right, so let's take this $80,000 out until we have no more issues.
I agree.
I mean, we're in April. If still have issues and we don't have the necessary approvals to do it.
I
Let's
agree.
take it out until we do. UST program phase 4.
This one's important.
What is it, Mr. Nunziata, that's that important?
Well, once upon a time, 10, 20 years ago, we had regular leaded gasoline tanks, underground tanks for our fuel as a campus, 7 or 8 different locations. Back in the late 90s, the federal government said, you have new standards, you have to test your tanks, do a tightness test. If they pass, you have 5 years to upgrade them or take them out. So for the last 10 years, we've actually been doing that. Mr. Filiatro and I worked on I think a line item, 1999 UST Phase 3. It was about $600,000, and that's one of the reasons why some of these line items are as old as they are. But we've actually, in the last 10 years, gotten almost all of our tanks out of the ground, but of course the ones that leaked, it could be soil contamination, groundwater contamination, and our environmental consultant has, one project at a time, put in monitoring wells, done soil sampling, and we have three active cases with the DEP, actually 4. One of them is a double, but there's 4 active sites within our municipal properties that we're under directives with the DEP. And this would be in order to do more monitoring wells, reporting, sampling, and reporting to the state, which we're required to do.
Mr. Filiacci, you buying what Mr. Nunziata's selling?
Absolutely. I've been working with him probably 16 years now since UST was part of our problems back in '93 when I was hired. We are pretty much out of money. We've had 2 authorizations for underground storage tank remediation in the past. We have spent them. We're pretty close to getting DEP satisfied, and I certainly do recommend this.
So why 200,000? Is 200,000 needed?
Yes, I could give you more detail if you'd like.
No. I don't need it personally.
No, I'm
I
satisfied.
mean, I don't need it personally. Let me tell you. All the details gonna not make a difference.
Okay.
Anybody else have anything, or would they like all the detail from Mr. Nunziata?
You're all good.
No,
Okay.
I trust
Thank
Mr. Nunziata.
Sorry you spent that 23 hours getting that number ready.
I think you're prepared on this one, okay. GIS capital support, $2,000.
Take it away.
What?
We actually got it already.
We already
Alright.
took it away. Deer signs,
I thought I was
5,000.
giving you one.
Here's-
I'm giving you another one.
Oh, don't give me $2,000 and $5,000 after you just asked for $200,000. Keep the 2 and the 5 and give us the 200.
Actually, let's go back up to the second line item, the pavement management inspection administrative.
Yes.
We can cut that to 100,000. I just got a revised proposal.
Yeah, I just know you've been working on that pretty hard with doing that whole management system with, you know, you went through it over the last couple of years, and I just think it's so important, you know? There has to be some long-term vision of what to do with these roads here, other than, I got enough complaints, let's do that road because there's some potholes on it. And
Right.
we gotta come up with a better way. Deer signs?
No.
Here's a point of information. There are deer all over Howell. No need for signs.
You know, Mr. Slagle, before you dismiss that
Killing me.
quick,
Put one on mine.
remember you and I had discussed about 7 months ago, the horse signs that
Yes.
are in towns all around Howell that are, you know, that
It's all right.
tell people what the statute is, that they're required to slow down to 25 miles an hour and obey the hand signals of the horse rider?
I believe we have some on, I think Birdsall Road.
Birdsall, there's horse farms all over this place.
Right.
I mean, if we're gonna spend money on signs, I'd like to see those put in. And I think, you know what, people
I'm
go,
not sure this is a capital item.
We just took that
To be honest.
5,000 out.
There were 159 deer last year, by the way. That
But
was
I
false.
agree with
The
Councilman
150.
Howell, what he's saying regarding the
Right.
horse signs. I
Horse.
think they're important also.
but that is actually a state law, that those signs be out there, correct? And that people obey those
Yes.
signs.
Like that?
Is that a real, I know we've already cut it, I'm just curious, for information, is that a real deterrent in your estimation, the deer
Well,
signs?
the Lake Restoration Wildlife Committee actually do statistics, and they've actually put little push pins on the maps where most of these happened, and those were the areas that they wanted to target. And that's really what the whole thing was about.
So why don't you put some of them up? Let's knock it down to $1,000, $2,000
I
and
think-
start somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's, given the amount.
I'm not sure it's a capital project.
I don't believe it's a capital. That would be an operating project, should come out of our sign budget if there's room for it.
Okay.
Now we're down to the bike walking horse path, phase 3, 40,000. Necessity, Ms. Nunziata?
Not necessarily, no.
Gone.
Is that one of those things where if it's there and there's a grant, we get it, but if we didn't authorize it and there's no grant, we don't get it? Is that,
No, what we do is we actually ask for bike path or trail money from the DEP, and we're pretty successful with
we
it.
give them our fine money and then they give it back in the form of money?
I'm sorry, DOT, rather. not
Oh,
DEP.
okay, I'm
DOT. As a matter of fact, our grant writer and I were discussing this last week. There is a round of applications coming, but what typically happens, though, is you may not be able to cover design costs and, you know, that type of thing with the grants. So we normally put, you know, 40,000 or so in that to cover the consultant costs.
Yeah, there's some restrictions to how the grant money is spent.
I mean, I think right now we have $10,000 or $15,000 left in the last of what's available for that type of work. I mean, it would be nice to have to move our trail forward, but it's not critical.
Okay.
Okay. It's gone. Capital Improvement Fund, $415,000.
Now, you have one
Yeah,
more
we
item.
have one more
That's-
item.
That's funding, Mr. Mayor. One more item of zero
Ms.
graphic
Bushkin
equipment.
is here.
You left Ms. Bushkin
I'm
out
done?
Thank you.
And she waited all this time, so patient.
there? That's lovely. Just because that thing started with an X. That's no X.
I crossed it out already. Start with next.
I'm finished?
I'm done.
He's kidding.
Are we?
Oh, no.
No.
God, what's it all for? Come on.
It's been a couple of years since we've replaced any photocopiers within the town as part of our ongoing replacement rotational program. And At this point, there are a couple of machines that are nearing their end of life, one of which is in the senior center that does produce the newsletters that go out to all the seniors, because we don't print them out. We don't outsource it, we do it in-house. Also, the EPC building, engineering department, planning, and code use the large machine for mega copies, you know. So I'm nervous in that there will come a point in time where those machines no longer function at all, and if we don't have something in the budget to at least address it if a problem does arise, that, and especially since we can finance this if it's needed through MCIA, I thought that at least 2 of the machines that I had requested, which would be about $50,000.
So this is 3 machines,
That was for 3 machines, right.
Could you do it for one?
I can do it for one and keep my fingers crossed.
Okay.
I mean, I'm for either or there, 1 or 2, it doesn't, with the money being that cheap at 2%.
Well, I would also say that we wouldn't go ahead and move forward with
Right,
it unless we
right.
needed to.
Right. Okay.
Okay, it's only as a situation arises where we would absolutely have to. I wouldn't buy anything in anticipation of needing it. It would only be if the situation arose.
And Ms. Bushkin is
Yes.
very much like Mr. Filiatro, as far as spending money.
More so.
Very thrifty.
Right, so we wouldn't be
Okay.
buying it unless it was
So you're
needed.
fine with 1?
I'm fine with
If
it.
I may point out, with the availability of the MCIA funding, certainly if we only need one this year, we could use that money to fund one for next year, while we have the cheap
Well, we have
money.
cheap money.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's why I'm suggesting the 2 at this point. Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I'm fine, anybody else?
I'm fine with it.
We're good with 2?
Okay, thank you.
So knock it down to what, 52,000?
I think 50,000.
50,000
would
is
be
fine.
Okay. I told you were done.
The rest of that next section is only a calculation sheet for source of funding, which I will have to massage around now that we've changed numbers and everything, so.
Okay.
We have 3 other items to look at, which would not involve borrowing at all, would just involve the authorization, would be the sewer utility, which has enough capital surplus to self-fund these items.
Do we need 2 trucks?
Myself, I think they should replace one, and maybe we'll look at the other one next year.
1. Epoxy coat 10 manholes, $70,000. Is that what it is? I mean, I know nothing about this, so I'm not gonna judge this at all. I need some help.
What that is aligning the inside of the manholes where the,
Up.
Come on up, George.
Let's go, George.
it's for infiltration reasons. They take in line, it's not the actual manhole cover, it's the inside. They line the insides to keep the stuff from leaching out of the manholes.
$70,000?
More line, I don't know each individual structure, but usually what's happening is the concrete's failing, so you're actually, it's like rebuilding the structure.
It's about $7,000 a man.
Okay.
I don't, like I
So
said, I
none
don't
of
know
us
the
have an
particular
idea of the
units.
cost. We just have to go on that this is how much it is? I'm just asking.
Well, our sewer department put the figures together.
Oh,
We
okay.
didn't just make this up.
Oh, okay.
And it will go to bid before it gets approved. It's a
Right.
budgetary estimate. And some of these manholes are 40 feet deep.
So, in other words, I'm not going in and check then?
No, you're not walking down, and it's, you're doing it, you're epoxying why the stuff is coming downhill again.
Is this
Right, George, so this will also help save us money, because without that groundwater seeping in the manholes, Mercer's gonna be charging us less.
is this a specific area, the 10 manholes?
That, I don't know. Like-
Okay.
There are 10 manholes that they identified that are a problem.
Okay. Then I'm for it.
Okay. GIS mapping, state required. It's a state mandate, $40,000?
There is a state mandate to overlay our sewer system into our GIS system, yes, and this was
So
was
it's an
from our
unfunded
our licensed operator, another unfunded mandate, yes.
So it's something we have to do and we have to pay for. So we went down to one truck, the others, it is
Right.
what it is. Anything else?
Yes, Mayor, I had sent out some information regarding the pension deferral. And I'm going to actually turn it over to Mr. Filiatro. We are under a time constraints to get this information in. And he can go over our loss of our Comtra funds, our additional loss of $250,000 in our energy tax, and he can bring you up to speed where we sit right now with the budget.
All right, yes, we did lose 4% of our energy tax, and that's $275,000. We have no Comtra left at all, the Consolidated Municipal Tax Relief Act. So the only real source of state aid that we are receiving anymore with all these years of cuts we were getting is the energy tax was specifically created by the state to provide for municipal property tax relief. So we are actually getting no other state money anymore. Given that, if we were to stay as we are right now, we would have to use all of our surplus. I mean, all of our surplus. I projected about retaining about $16,000 worth of surplus. Defer school taxes again to the maximum. Use everything that we have, and we would still be $570,000 over the levy cap, and we're minus the cut in the first aid that you did tonight. And as distasteful as it is to me, I cannot find any other area to make cuts of that size without recommending to you that we do the deferred pension. I looked at the statute as it is. It defers 1/2 of our pension payment for this year. The repayment starts in 2012. So we have about 3 years worth of breathing room before the payments kick in. It is a 15-year payback. The interest rate is the actual earnings, actuarial earnings that the pension made that year, rather than the statutory 8 3/4% that's in the pension plan. So I think that's a big plus on the towns. We're not going to be paying that exorbitant interest rate. We're going to be paying the same rate of return that the pension actually makes that year. Also, we can pay that back at any time.
So we can prepay it any
You
time?
can
There is
prepay
no,
it at any
there's no
time.
penalty for
There's-
prepaying.
So I'm not a big fan. The last pension deferral did not work well, and I think part of the reason it did not work well is that it's a 5-year ramp-up, and it included the 8% interest, so it was just so onerous on our budgets to have the payments increase by 20% year over year for 5 years, that it was just too disastrous on everybody's budget. This one with the 15-year payout, with the ability, if we have another frequency engineering type deal where we get another shot of money, perhaps we can prepay this at any time we want to. I recommend that we do go with the deferral, only because it is so less devastating on the budget any further, as far as making it, that would bring us within cap, would leave us some reserves for next year and some room. I don't think next year is going to be any better than this year, and at least leaves us a little bit of money in the bank and a little bit of reserve, fund balance reserves for next year. So, you know, I regretfully recommend that we do this. I'm a member of the pension plan, and you know, I would rather see it fully funded, but I just don't see where we have much of a choice as far as doing it. I don't see a $500,000 item laying around somewhere, so we can just say, well, let's cut that out, and then all our problems are solved. Doing that, we have to get approval of the local finance board in order to do that. And April 22nd is the last date the local finance board will accept applications for the last opportunity to approve those things, which is in their May meeting. So we really, our next regular council meeting would be April 24th. So I'm asking that you consider that tonight. I have prepared the necessary paperwork and the resolution to do so that we can get them off to the state and get before the local finance board in their May meeting.
Any members of the council? Manager, anything?
I concur with everything Mr. Filiatro says. I am concerned that we have absolutely no cushion. And that's scary. And I think that I agree with him that this may not be the optimum thing to do. I think that at this point, that is where we have to go.
Mayor, I think we've been sitting here all night saying that we trust Mr. Filiatro's judgment when it comes to numbers and the finances of the town. And, you know, listening to Mr. Schlegel, we wouldn't have enough money to run the town for a half a week. Pretty much, if we had to take all the surplus out and just leave bare minimum. You know, it's something we're trying to instill in the residents. We just don't have the money. And they keep taking more and more away. I don't know that we have any other choice, and hopefully, yeah, we'll run into some other kind of windfall where we could pay it back earlier and not leave it on future council to have to come up with it in their budget. But absent that, I don't think we can go for it. You know, it's not like the board ed where we can go for a cap exception and say, you know, let us tax more money, and we can't tax the residents anymore. We just can't do it.
Anybody else?
Are the majority of the towns in the county or in our area going for this deferral?
Some have not tipped their hand or have not decided, if you will, that I called. I think about half of the towns that I have talked to locally, and I'm actually going to attend the CFO meeting on this coming Thursday. But I know Manalapan is considering it. I know Freehold is considering it. Freehold lost a big hunk of revenue, state revenue. I'm not too sure about Jackson. I'm not sure about at this point in time. I haven't heard from Wall.
No, I do know some of the towns also that have applied for discretionary aid, and they can't get discretionary aid unless they take the pension deferral.
Yes. They will not get discretionary aid unless they take the deferral.
Do we have to move this tonight?
Yes. You know, your next meeting's slated for the 24th, which is too late. So yeah, I have two items on for that for you to consider tonight. This is the first item, probably the toughest item.
I'll move it.
You need to go into regular session,
Well,
Mayor.
I'm not, I just want to say something. I mean, we're going to have to come up with something inventive between the management here in town and the council, because putting off to tomorrow, what you owe today, we know ends up to come back to bite you. It's like using a credit card, but you're not going to have to pay on it in 4 years. Go and buy that bedroom set with no payments for 18 months.
But isn't that our whole capital philosophy to begin with?
No, that's like a lease. I mean, it's a little bit different. This, you're going to have all the other payments on top of this, start in 2012. And, you know, reading about the pension fund, there was just a great article about a week ago saying that $4 to $5 billion's leaving the pension fund, more than's going in there a year. $4 to $5 billion a year is leaving, more than's going in, but yet only pay half. I mean, eventually, it's all got to come back.
Oh yes, exactly. Oh yes, and really, it's more in the line of borrowing from your equity line to make a purchase or something like that. One of the things, and I think you've heard me say this before, and I think all of the CFOs that I talk to in the general area all have come to agreement that this 4% levy cap law is a full bankruptcy law. I mean, it's going to run every town broke eventually. I mean, and some towns faster than others, and unfortunately, you just can't cap all the revenue stream of a municipality and not have us go broke and not have us run out of money. And that's what they've done. And until they can find out and figure out how to fix this, I don't know. I don't have an answer other than what the state's given. They've given us one way of doing this. I don't know. I can't pull any other hats out of the bag. And as distasteful as it is over the fact that we are deferring expenses we should be paying this year, it is $1.3 million that we get to finance that we normally wouldn't be able to, and then I mean, for the sake of not financing, what do we do? Eliminate more positions? I don't know where to get the $500,000 we're short.
About this, there is no way I will be any part of laying people off after we did the furloughs. There's no way to do both, in my eyes. You will not get me to support it, agree with it, vote for it,
And I mean, even additional furloughs is not acceptable or anything. But we have this $500,000 hole that I can't come up with the magic number.
We are going to have to get creative. Okay, I know somebody used the word earlier today, and I'm a traditional kind of guy. I really am. But the way things have been done in this state aren't going to work anymore. I hope everybody realizes that. It's really over. I mean, that's just the pension. 4 to 5 billion more is leaving a year than is going in. That's just the pension. That has nothing to do with a lot of other things in the state. And the only thing they can do is keep taking more and more from the people to pay for more and more of the cost. And it's a shame. I mean, last year was $530,000 we didn't get from the state. This year they just plucked $270,000 from us. They're talking about eliminating from your state tax, the write-off you get for your real estate taxes. We went from a 6% to a 7% sales tax last year. This isn't going to end, folks. My biggest fear about all of this is that the decisions we're making today are going to look very easy 3-4 years from now. That's my biggest fear. Mr. Garrity, who was here, was worried about computers. I'm worried about 3-4 years from now. The decisions are going to have to be made then. I'll go along with your recommendation, Mr. Filiaccio, for one reason. No one's given me any kind of solution other than it. And I've been known to talk a lot. I get in trouble for it sometimes. Okay? But a lot of times when I'm talking, it's me searching and me fishing for answers and solutions to the problems that are facing us on a daily basis here. And I've talked all over the state to different people about what to do here. I was told one city in North Jersey was going to shut down for 30 days if this wasn't given to them. I talked to a friend of mine in another town who's in government who said we went to the union and said 7 police officers and 13 firemen get let go, and we don't get concessions from the union. I mean, I don't know what to do. And my fear is that these are going to be, we're going to look back and say they were pretty easy decisions you made in 2009. Please let me be wrong. Please. But we need to become creative. I have a couple ideas. I'm sure they'll pound me for it. The naysayers will say, you can't do that. Well, you know what you can't do, folks? You can't do what's been done the last 20 years and expect everything to be okay. It's not going to be. So I'll go along with you. Even though I know that that's a last resort. Because all you're doing is putting off till tomorrow what you know you really need to pay today. And tomorrow comes sooner than we think. 2012, will I be out of office? I'll either be in heaven or out of office by 2012.
You'll still be here.
You'll be here.
I'll be out of office or in heaven by 2012.
Mr. Filiaccio, just for my own knowledge, just because we apply to the local finance board doesn't mean they're going to say yes.
No, it doesn't. No, not necessarily. I get the impression that because the local finance board is not requiring attendance, that they are other pre-nature to approve one as long. I have to provide you see the entire packet. I have to provide a lot of numeric numbers and a lot of data and information to the local finance board. So they're just not going to approve this because you want it. They're going to approve it because you've shown a need for it.
All right, so
Okay,
they
so-
could sit there and say, well, you didn't go to the max 4% tax cap, so we're not going to approve it, or, you know, they're just not going to, they
I
may
don't
not
know.
just give it to you because you want it.
They're asking us what else we have done
Right.
to save before we defer, but no, that was one thing they did not ask us for, is for the max, 4% cap.
But the furloughs are showing that we've been trying to, have good faith in trying to keep the budget within cap.
Before we go into open session, I take another discussion. There's another item that we can probably vote on together, and that's authorization for tax anticipation note. This is our annual cash flow note that we need to carry us through until the tax bills go out. My calculation this year is 13 million rather than 12 million last year, and it's more of something that we do every year. And due to my illness, I'm a little behind. We usually do this in March, so I am asking for action today so I can get the tan sold during the month of April.
Okay. I'm fine with that. Anybody else? Not an issue to me. All right. Now, do we need to go into,
Yes.
Yes, sir, into regular session. A motion, you need a motion to go
Select
into
people?
regular.
if they'd like to speak about what we,
Yes.
is that regular
Yes.
session? All right.
May I make a motion, we go into regular session?
And I second it.
Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Woman?
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
She had to leave.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. Like to open the regular session. Would anybody from the public like to speak about what we've talked about tonight in the budget? Ms. Sullivan?
This is not the public hearing.
I can speak about anything.
Let's
Okay.
get her in. Come on.
It would be technical anyway. Is this already on?
Yes.
All right, signed Rosali, Birdsall Road, Farmingdale. I didn't want to talk because I have a sore throat, but I have to. I have a bond ordinance from August 15th, 2008, for almost $4 million. And some of the things that were requested on this ordinance were things that were talked about tonight, like a new boiler, which was on here for 2009, $75,000. But
Wait.
supposedly,
No, we have two boilers. If you listen to Mr.
Oh.
Gavatti, he said we had two boilers, that one was in the 2008 capital, and there was one more for the 2009.
so that was done.
Right.
One was done, so we have
That one
another-
was allocated already, right.
So we have one more that has to be done.
That's correct.
All right, now, I think you talked about electronic doors at the senior center. That was on here. Providing for the replacement of the boiler at Town Hall, expanding the parking lot, paint the exterior. Was this painted? This building painted?
Was it?
No.
Well, it says main building. Let's see. It says
Oh.
paint exterior, it says expand the parking lot. This is Town Hall, I believe. It's talking about Town Hall. Expand the parking lot, install a mechanical door at the senior center, replace wall or window air conditioning units, and upgrade the computer room at EPC, including air work and materials necessary thereof. Now, was that all done?
Hold on. Would you give a copy of that to Ms. Schlegel? She'll look into it in the next meeting?
A copy of it?
She's
Because
she'll
it was
make-
in the paper, it's bond.
That's okay, I can pull
The
the bond.
expand parking lot was
Oh, wait,
slated
32.
for the senior center. The painting was senior center.
Was that all done? That's in what's there now,
I
right?
do money, I don't know.
Or it may not have been done yet. The money was allocated in August.
Well, no, I'm
and-
just
yeah.
asking because there's
We
stuff
didn't
in
ask
here.
for anything tonight, though. That was in that bond.
Well, there's stuff in here about trucks and trailers, and it's so hard to understand what was asked for without knowing. It says, providing for the purchase of a dump trailer to be used by all municipal buildings. That was only $6,500. But then included, it says, providing for the 2008 road overlay program, replacement of curbs, sidewalks, and tree removal. So that's an ongoing thing.
So I'm going every year.
So that was already done for
Along
last
those- yes,
year.
those roads were done.
All those items are spelled out in an individual item, an individual basis in that booklet that you have from the budget hearing.
All right, well, it says here, providing for the purchase of a front-end loader, 5 cubic yard dump truck with plow and salt spreader, rack body truck, 4-wheel drive with plow, and a leaf vacuum trailer for the Department of Public Works. Was that done last year?
Yes, that was in last year's capital. None of the things that were asked for tonight were
All right.
allocated.
All right, so all different equipment?
All different.
All right, I guess that's all I needed. Thank you. Just wanted to make sure.
Anybody else for the public? I'll close the public portion of the meeting. So what, we need to have a motion in order to approve the,
You want to first do the resolution? You need to read the resolution? No. Go ahead. Just a motion.
Just a motion. Mr. Mayor, I make a motion on resolution of the Township of Howell, making application to the local finance board for a reduction of the pension contribution pursuant to NJSA 43:15A-24C and NJSA 43:16A-59. I just did it for fun.
do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Bowman?
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mrs. Dalton?
Not here?
Mr. Howell?
That was for 117?
Pension
Yes.
was 117. Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. And then we have another one.
Mr. Howell, why don't you show it how it's done?
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we approve resolution 09-116.
And I would second it. Well done.
Okay.
Roll call, Mayor?
Yes, please.
Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yeah.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. Is there anything else, Mrs. Slagle?
No, sir.
Mayor, if we could, since we're in public, I spoke to Mr. Schlegel earlier this week. Seems that we have an issue with Mercer representative. We have ordinance number 35-4. The memberships concerning the salary of residency that was put in place on March 21st, 2006, was ordinance number 0-06-11. In the final paragraph of that chapter states that each member concerning the Mercer member shall certify with the township clerk that they are residents of the township by February 1 of each year of their term. Failure to do so shall be deemed cause for removal by the governing body. And Mr. Schlegel, it's my understanding that one of the Mercer representatives has, in fact, not certified to the clerk, even as of this date, April 7th. Is that correct?
Yes.
And one of the, then obviously one of the representatives has certified to the clerk's office that they are a resident of the township. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Mayor, seeing as that, and we have an ordinance in place that says that they have to do this, and it's really the only thing that we require them to do is to read their job description. I'd like to make a motion that we remove Mrs. Suzanne Weitengruber as a Mercer representative for failure to certify residency for cause.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Bowman?
Can I ask a question before we do the roll call, if I could? I was aware of this. Has she been given notice of her obligation to do so, other than the job description?
She knows the law, she teaches the law.
Actually, I spoke to the township attorney, and we're not required to tell her what her job is that correct?
Yes.
Can I have a roll call, please, Ms. Walman?
Mrs. Clark?
No.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. Anything else?
No, sir, nothing from me, Mayor.
Anybody from the council?
Nothing, Mayor. It was a good night.
Public portion of the meeting? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion, we adjourn the meeting.
Do I have a second?
I second it.
Roll call, Mrs. Clark?
Yes.
Mr. Howell?
Yes.
Mr. Memolo?
Yes.
Mayor Walsh?
Yes. God bless. Good night, everybody.